Rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Mga mahal kong kapatid, tayo po ay manalangin sa ating nag-iisang ang lahat ay nanggaling Propeta Abraham at mula po sa kanya dumating po ang mga propeta, si Moses, si Ismael, Isaac, Jesus, Muhammad. Ito pong pagkakataon na ito, tayo po ay yumuko, tayo po ay pumikit, tayo po ay lumapit sa nag-iisang Diyos. O Panginoon namin, na kayo po ang lumikha sa langit at lupa. Kami po ay nananalangin. Kami po muli ay lumuluhod, nagpapatirapa sa mga nangyayari po sa aming kapaligiran. Katulad po ng nangyayari ngayon sa bansang Palestina, Israel, mga Muslim, Hudyo, Kristiyano. Sila po ay nasa loob ng isang digmaan na hindi po namin maintindihan kung saan po nanggagaling ang mga karahasan na ito na nabiging biktima ang mga bata, matanda. Panginoon namin, patawarin niyo po kami sa aming pagmamalabis, sa aming mga ginagawang hindi ka nais-nais. Hinihingi po namin na tulungan niyo po kami, na bigyan kami ng talino, ng lakas, para mapigilan po namin sa aming abot na makakaya ang karahasan na ito at magkaroon po ng kaguluhan na ito kapag lumaki. Baka hindi po namin mapigil ito at ito po ay umabot sa aming bansa at magkaroon po ito ng hindi magandang epekto sa mga kababayan po namin, sa 80% ng aming mga kababayan na sa hanggang ngayon ay naghihikahos sa kahirapan. Panginoon, nagmamakaawa po kami dahil kayo po ang tunay na mapagpala at mahabagin. Tulungan niyo po kami. Kayo lamang po ang makapagbibigay sa amin ng tulong, wala ng iba. Panginoon, kami pong lahat, Muslim, Kristiyano, Hudyo, kami pong lahat ay nananampalataya sa inyo. Kami pong lahat ay umaasa sa tulong ninyo. Amin. Allahu Akbar.
Secretary, please call the roll of members.
Call of members. The Honorable Senator Angara, Senator Binay, Senator Cayetano Alan, Senator Cayetano Pia, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Ejercito, Senator Escudero, Senator Estrada, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Go, Senator Ontiveros, Senator Lapid, Senator Legarda, Senator Marcos, Senator Padilla, Senator Pimentel, Senator Poe, Senator Revilla, Senator Tolentino, Senator Tulfo, Senator Villar.
Finance has brilliant ideas, and I agree to both. We just have to go through the process and also, of course, ask the chair of the OP budget, Senator Angara, the chair of the Committee on Finance, but that would mean the end dream just earmarking for the QRF of DOLE. We will go through the process, and regarding the expansion and tweaking, so to speak, of the TUPAD guidelines, I wholeheartedly agree.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Madam Sponsor. Just to cite for the record the reason, if we put a lump sum amount for TUPAD in the DOLE budget, I'm sure it will attract the attention of a lot of legislators. But if we put it in the QRF fund, in order to address basic needs during times of calamities, pandemics, or certain needs in connection with health and nutrition, then the DOLE would have complete supervision and discretion in regard to the utilization of those funds. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. That would be an earmarking under the NDREAM fund dedicated as QRF for DOLE.
Thank you, Senator Escudero.
May
Majority
request
Leader.
you to submit your
Yeah,
special
Mr. President, just to
submission
intervene and just to
Galing. Tama ka.
I'll ask some questions, Mr. President.
Yes.
Mr. President, just to intervene, and I was, it caught my attention, Mr. President, when the gentleman from Sorsogon made this suggestion, and I'm not objecting to it. In fact, Mr. President, this representation filed a bill in the Senate, Senate Bill number 132, and that is basically the essence of the bill of this representation, to strengthen and expand the scope of TUPAD, considering that UNESCO itself, Mr. President, commended the Department of Labor and Employment for this particular program. And we are all aware of how it helps our countrymen, especially those marginalized sectors of our society, including those who are having problems getting jobs, etc., Mr. President. So I hope that this will also remind our colleagues here in the Senate to support the bill that we filed, Senate Bill 132, and it will not only expand the duration of temporary or emergency employment program of the government. There is also a opportunity there, Mr. President, to be trained by TESDA, to have a community-based training program that will allow the beneficiary not only to be trained but also to be assessed and certified by TESDA. Therefore, at the end of the day, we'll be seeing beneficiaries not just having a emergency employment program, but also landing jobs as well, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President, and I hope that the distinguished sponsor will support this representation.
That's a very good idea. I'd like to request to be co-author of the measure, but moving forward, perhaps the good majority leader can give us a special provision which we will consider to put in the GA of 2024, of course with the approval of the chair, so that while that is not yet enacted into law, they can already do the convergence. Because
Yes, Mr. President, we will work on it together with the gentleman from Sorsogon who actually thought of it as part of our General Appropriations Act provision.
yes,
Mr. President. Thank
as you know, the GA is the biggest piece of legislation,
Yes.
and while your
Thank you.
bill, which is noteworthy, is not yet enacted into law, I would accept, because it's very good to do that, a special provision so that there's conversion between the TESDA and the Dole Tupad programs.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. At this juncture, I move that we recognize the distinguished gentleman from Isabela and Davao, no other than Senator Rafi Tulfo. So move, Mr. President.
Senator Rafi Tulfo is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Madam Sponsor, good afternoon. I would like to put in record as Vice Chairman of the Committee on Labor, I am fully supporting 100% the budget for 2024 for the Department of Labor and Employment. Ibig sabihin, walang kaduda-duda, full-out support po ako. Okay ba,
Maraming
Madam
salamat
Sponsor?
po, Mr. President,
However-
sa chair ng committee ng Department of Migrant Workers. At alam ko po na sa puso niya ay talagang nagbibigay ng proteksyon sa ating mga manggagawa. At inaantabayanan ko po ang kanyang mga katanungan na sigurado akong makakatulong para pang mapaganda palalo ang budget ng DOLE.
Tama po kayo dyan, Mr. President, Madam Sponsor. I've said it so many times, but I'll say it again anyway. Ito po yung sinasabi ko, he was less in life, she had more in law. Ibig sabihin, yung mga maliliit at kapuspalad ng mga kababayan, sila dapat magkaroon ng mas malawak na proteksyon sa ating batas. At sino po itong mga kapuspalad ng kababayan? Sila po yung mga below minimum wage, hindi nakatanggap ng sapat na sweldo mula sa kanilang mga employer. At kapag sila po ay nagsampa ng reklamo, nababaliktad pa sila karamihan. And there are times na sila po ay nananalo, pero paper victory lamang ang nangyari at hindi na natatanggap yung kanilang panalo. So, having said that, ang question ko ngayon para sa mga taga-DOLE, ano pong polisiya you have put in place to ensure na wala na pong mga manggagawa na makakatanggap ng below sa minimum wage? Kasi batas po natin yan. And yet, every day, even while we speak, doon po sa action center ko, sa TV5, meron pong mga nakapila doon dahil hindi po binibigay yung kanilang tamang pasweldo at binipisyo. Ibig sabihin, meron po tayong minimum wage, below minimum po ang binibigay sa kanila. Karamihan po sila mga factory workers, sila po yung mga security guards, sila po yung mga bodegero, sila po yung palagi na api. So, meron po ba tayong polisiya na para matigil na po ito at maging patas na po ang batas?
Alam po natin na kailangan tagala pinapatupad ang ating minimum wage. Ang ginagawa po ng DOLE ay by inspection. Alam naman po natin na hindi kaya naman inspeksyonin lahat sa buong bansa. So ako po ay magpapakatotoo na meron po silang graph dito ng mga na-inspect po nila mula Enero hanggang Oktubre ngayong taon na ito sa NCR sa lahat ng regions. Meron po silang target, meron silang accomplishment, at meron silang na-inspect at may technical and advisory visit. Yun po ang ginagawa nila, labor inspection and technical and advisory visit. Lahat po naman ay dapat sumusunod ng ating mga batas. Alam natin, ang minimum wage nga ay dapat taasan pa nga, pero hindi pa na napapatupad yun. In the meantime, all they can do and what they're doing is inspection and technical and advisory visits. At meron po silang, mahaba po ito, we can give you a copy, of the targets per region and their accomplishments per region.
Kahanga-hanga po yan, Mr. President, Madam Sponsor, yung sinasabi niyo may target sila. Pero ang tanong ko dun sa target nila, meron na hubang nasampulan para naman madala at it will serve as warning to some people there na hindi talaga nabibigyan ng minimum wage. Ito pong ibig sabihin to mga employer. Meron na hubang nakulong at pwede hubang makita yung numero ng mga nakulong o nakasuhan man lang.
Meron po silang mga nakita na hindi nagko-comply, so mag-i-issue po sila ng compliance order. Admittedly, walang nakukulong.
Dapat po may
Wala
makulong.
pa. Wala pa.
Wala pa. Dapat po may makulong.
Ayon po sa kanila, no?
Dapat may makulong. Dahil kapag walang nakulong na mga employer, dapat may makulong na taga-dole. Dahil hindi na ginagawa ka ng trabaho.
Kala ko ba ay kayo tutulong sa budget? Bakit
Tutulong sa
kayo
budget.
na-
Pero it doesn't mean na
Okay.
tutulong sa budget tapos maging tamad na sila.
Hindi naman po.
I'll
Okay.
give them the budget that they
To be fair
ask,
to
they
them,
require.
yes.
I'll give it to them full support. Pero kapalit niyan, gawin nila ang trabaho nila para
Sure.
sa mga maliit nating kababayan.
Opo. Sinabi ko po, ang kanilang ginagawa ay visits and compliance visits, nagbibigay ng abiso. Sabi nga nila, may mga hindi nagko-comply, so may compliance orders
That-
kayong ginagawa. But they were
Opo.
very honest to say, sa kaalaman nila, wala pang nakukulong.
Wala pa ng kulong. Kaya nga po sana, pwede ho ba ako mag-request na sana po may makulong para may sampulan. So yung mga pong mga,
Yes.
sabi niya mo, Madam President, Madam Sponsor, na call attention na, pwede bang bigyan niyo ako ng kopya para ako na po magpa-follow up to make sure na talaga
Okay.
matutuluyan yung mga kumpanyang yun at makasuhan. Kasi hanggat wala po nakakasuhan, ang tingin nila sa batas natin is bungal. Kumbaga, walang ngipin. So dapat lagi natin ngipin ang batas. At ako po ang pwede magsilbing ngipin. Okay lang po sa akin, magalit
Okay.
sila lahat. Basta I'll make sure na yung batas ay ma-implement. At that's the reason, to be honest with you, Mr. President, Madam Sponsor, that's the promise I made to the mga manggagawa during the election na pagdating ko po dito sa Senado, sila po ay magkakaroon ng boses, lalo na po yung mga palaging naapi ng mga manggagawa at hindi nabibigyan tamang mga sweldo at benepisyo. I'll be the voice for them.
Okay.
And I'm just doing what I promised them.
Bibigay ko po sa inyo ang matrix po nila ng minimum wage, rate of compliance to the minimum wage. January to September of 2023, ang kanilang inspected arrangements
Opo.
at ang compliance rate ayon dito sa datos ay 93.50. Ang ating talagang, it is our desire that everyone will comply with this. Maliit na nga yung minimum wage, ay kailangan mag-comply lahat.
Kulang na nga po kung tutusin, tama,
kulang
I agree
na
with
kulang,
you.
yes.
Kaya nga
So-
po, in fact, I made a suggestion last year, mukhang mabilis mag-oo yung mga taga-dole, pero hindi naman ginagawa. Suggestion ko lang to, in my humble opinion, it will be better kung magpaskil po sa establishmento, especially sa mga factory, sa mga security agency, sinasabi doon na ito yung minimum wage para sa lugar na ito,
Meron.
at ito yung mga karapatan ng mga manggagawa, at
We do it
kapag
for
hindi
all,
nasunod ito, meron hotline na pwede yung tawagan. At syempre dapat yung hotline na yun, may sumasagot doon. Wala pa rin pong gumagawa ng ganon.
Ginagawa po nila,
Meron na po
ayon
ba?
po sa DOLE, ay nagpapaskill po sila ng hard copy.
Kung hard copy, sana yung parang ano ba, karatula. Na,
Yun nga po, hard copy na poster sa mga establishments.
Yes.
Not,
Kasi po, sa ano yung work area, anong nangyari po kasi, karamihan sa mga galing ng probinsya, pupunta dito sa Maynila, hindi nila alam magkano minimum wage. So kung ano sasabihin po sa kanila ng kanilang employer, tinatanggap nila, kapit sa patalim. Pero kung meron pong karatula doon, ay, ito pala yung minimum wage sa Maynila, ito pala yung mga karapatan ko, dapat pala overtime bayaran, night differential dapat bayaran, etc.
You
So,
do that.
susunod.
Yeah.
Kailangan pala may payslip. Hindi na susunod yung, hindi na bibigyan mga karapatan ko yan. Then,
Yes.
nandun yung cellphone number na pwede nang tawagan.
meron po silang ginagawang ganun,
Meron.
ayon po
Okay.
sa DOLE, ay
Alright.
ginawa po nila. Hindi
Okay.
lang nga yung minimum wage, kundi yung mga benepisyo.
So next budget hearing sa 2024, gusto ko po meron na pong nakasuhan na employee hindi po nagbigay ng minimum wage at
May kaso.
meron pong hindi po ako nagbibiro, seryoso po ako ha. Gusto ko po by next year meron pong employer na hindi po nagbibigay sumusunod doon sa minimum wage law na ina-underpay yung po mga manggagawa niya. Bigyan niyo ako ng kahit isa man lang na kumpanya, matutuwa na ako. Pero pag wala, ako po ay manggagala 80. I'm very sorry to say that right here, right now. Kailangan po merong isang masampulan o matuluyan. Kasi Madam Sponsor, she's my friend. Karamihan sa mga dole sinasabi inspection, pupunta ron. Sasabihin ko lang po sa inyo yung style. Punta ron yung mga taga-dole mag-inspect. Kasi nga po, may nagreklamo. In fact, there are times na natutuwa pa nga kapag may nagreklamo. Pupunta mag-inspection. Pagdating po doon sa area, magkakaroon po ng yung pong dole inspector at yung pong mga opisyal ng kumpanya. And wala pong representante mula po sa mga manggagawa ng kumpanya. So sila lang po nag-uusap. So hindi alam kung anong pinag-uusapan. Paglabas ng dole inspector, may dala-dala na pong bag. Hindi alam kung anong laman ng bag. At tablado na. Yun na po ang aking observation. At yan po ay base po, meaning, base po yan sa mga nasabi po sa akin. So ang aking po observation, mukhang hindi po seryoso yung dole para ma-solve po yung problema ng mga gagawa. Again, going back to what I promised, susuportan ko po ang inyong pong budget. In fact, mamaya NLRC, meron po akong bibigyan na big support. Andito ba yung DBM? DBM? Present man DBM? Meron man DBM? Tumago ng DBM? Wala ang DBM? Akala ko. Okay. Anyway, mapapanood naman ito ng DBM. Okay. So okay na po ba yun? Yung akin pong sinasabi sa inyo? Kasi for so many years, Mr. President and Madam Sponsor, for so many years, I've been a broadcaster for 20 years. Okay. Walang mintis po yan. Araw-araw, mahaba po ang pila sa aking action center na kung saan mga security guard, mga factory worker, ang reklamo nila, Idol, Sir, below minimum po ang aking sweldo. Wala pong bayad sa overtime. 15 hours po yung trabaho ko. 18 hours pa po yung trabaho ko. Wala pong overtime. Palagi pa po ako puyat at napapagalitan pa. Etc. etc. Wala pong payslip. Wala po akong SSS. Wala pong PhilHealth. Wala pong pag-ibig. Ganun na lang po palagi ang reklamo. So, kaya nga sabi ko po, nandito na po ako sa Senado, gusto ko po dapat magkaroon po ng kabuluhan yung pagdating ko dito sa Senado. Kaya nga po ang request ko ngayon sa DOLE, gusto ko po, by next year, sa susunod na budget hearing, meron po talaga natuluyan na nakusuhan dahil sa pagnanakaw sa sweldo ng mga pobre nating mga manggagawa. Kasi ito po, bibigyan kita ng situation kayo dyan sa DOLE. Kapag ang empleyado nagnakaw sa kanyang amo, pinagtatrabahuan, maniwala kayo sa hindi, kakasuhan agad yung empleyado, makukulong sa kasong qualified theft. Tama? As simple as that. Pero, kapag ang amo nagnakaw sa kanyang empleyado, sa pamagitan ng hindi pagbigay ng tamang pasweldo, ninanakaw yung kanyang sweldo at binipisyo, binubulsa, ano nangyari? Hanggang DOLE lang. Pagdating sa DOLE, pag-uusapan lang, pag-aregluhin. Sometimes, wala lang. This is unfair. Ito ang sinasabi ko. He who has less in life should have more in law. Pero mukhang hindi ata nasusunod. Kaya hanggat dito ako sa Senado, kaya gusto ko ito maliit na kababayan, especially itong mga maliit na magagawa, ay mabigyan ng mas malawakang proteksyon. And so with DOLE, can I get assurance from you guys by next year, meron na pong natuluyan na kasuhan na employer na nang api sa kanyang mga trabahador, meaning hindi po nagbigay ng tamang pasweldo. Give me an assurance ngayon pa lamang. Kasi for the past 20 years, like I said, 25 years po ako naging broadcaster. Ganun po ang palaging reklamo, day in and day out. And in fairness naman po sa DOLE, tuwing tatawag ako sa DOLE, na-action na naman, pinag-aayos, binabalik yung mga sweldong hindi na ibigay, ban-aid solution yon. Yung sa akin, gusto ko po pang matagalan at permanent solution. Can I get that commitment from DOLE?
Yes. Mr. President, I think all of us here, whether elected or appointed or working in a bureaucracy, share the same advocacy for workers' welfare, for giving them what is due them, for compliance with the minimum wage, which is already so minimum and not a living wage. Yes, so I speak for them, even if the secretary is not here anymore now for a very urgent personal reason. Yes, to the best of their ability, they will, but clearly we know that it would be the DOJ. They must file the case there, no? And how can I, a sponsor of the budget, and they watch over the courts to ensure, because I cannot promise you, Your Honor, that as I sit here next year, if I'm still the chair of the budget of DOLE, na may nakakulong ng isa, because you will say that I may be lying if next year walang nakakulong.
Okay, pero
I cannot answer you, sir, in the affirmative to say, I promise you when the budget comes here, may nakakulong. I as budget chair cannot do that.
Yes, ma'am.
But we share your advocacy. You're not alone in that fight. We all share the advocacy for workers' welfare and giving them their due wages. That's why we have also been wanting to increase the minimum wage para taasan po ang minimum wage nila, para maging living wage. Napag-usapan po yan ng mahaba sa hearing. At may mga nakafile na admin cases, kung may criminal cases at nasa mga korte, I'm not certain whether the DOLE personnel here can actually interfere. So I cannot assure you na may nakakulong. Kasi kung sabihin kong oo para lang mapasa yung budget, parang na akong nambola sa inyo. I don't want to do that.
No, what I'm
Yes.
trying to say here, Madam Sponsor, Mr. President, is merong kasong na i-file na dapat. Kasi mukhang wala atang kaso na ipa-file. Meron nga monitoring,
There are
meron
cases.
kayong target, inspection and all. Pero marami, I'm sure sa mga ginawa niyong pagbibisita, pagmamonitor, marami kayong nakitaan dyan ng mga kumpanya na talagang nag-violate sa batas natin, sa labor law natin.
evidence,
So ang tanong ko talaga, meron na bang naiakyat man lang
Yes.
sa korte?
Mr.
Kung meron,
President.
ilan po, para kung meron mga na-pending, ako na po magpa-follow up, I'll help you out na para ensure ko na yung kaso yun hindi na natitenga lang dyan sa korte, yan po ay gugulong at meron masampulan at meron makulong. Kasi hanggat wala pong nakukulong na mga among balasu, salbad, mga masasamang amo, tuloy-tuloy pa rin po yung gagawin pang-api.
Yes. Ako po isang ayon sa inyo, pero alam naman po natin na ang DOJ na piskal o yung prosecutor ang siya magtitimbang ng ebidensya whether if-file ito o hindi, di ba po? Nagiging makatotoo ang mga DOLE directors or USEC sa akin na hindi po sila. It will be the prosecutor, it's under the DOJ, who will decide whether the
Precisely.
case will be filed or not.
Exactly.
And so, yes, if there are abuses, since you are very influential in that sphere, and that is your advocacy, which we share with you, maybe the proactive way is to seek the help of the good senator so that through his influence and more than 26 million followers on his platforms, he can help you. Because if I tell you, I assure you, may kulong 1 year from now, then you take me up on that, hindi po ako ang nagpapakulong o sila po. It is the DOJ, through the prosecutor and the fiscal, that is our judicial process that will weigh the evidence to see if there is enough evidence to file the case. And once it is in the court, again, I cannot expect the good secretary or his ASECs and USECs to be following it up
Okay.
in the respective courts. However, what we could do is inform your honor and your office with all cases filed, whether for compliant, the non-compliant employers, and then perhaps you could help. Both administrative and possible criminal liabilities.
That's exactly
That's
what
what I can suggest.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Now, thank you po, nag-guess na po ako. Yung bang merong po dapat mga kaso nang na-file sa korte? Dahil
There are cases filed in court?
dahil
Do you
dito
have
sa
them
mga
now?
kumpanya na hindi po sumusunod sa batas.
As of now, to their knowledge, there is no criminal case filed in court. There are administrative cases based on their visits and their compliance visits, Mr. President.
Anyway, ako po ay gumagawa ng resolusyon. Ang tawag po doon ay anti-wage theft law para makasuhan ng kaso kriminal ang lahat ng mga employer na hindi po na nagnanakaw sa sweldo ng mga empleyado. But alam naman natin yan, Madam Sponsor, na it will take some time bago yan ay ma-hear hanggang sa may pasa, kung may papsa. Pero for the meantime, meron naman talaga tayong batas na dapat implement labor law na nagsasabing ibigay na rapat, which is the minimum wage.
Yes.
So gusto ko po, sana may ma-file na kaso by next year at gusto ko makita yung may file na kaso para ako na po magpa-follow up upang masiguro na talagang gugulong yung kaso na i-file. Yun lang po yung point ko.
Yes. The DOLE, insofar as their role will be the witnesses, Mr. President.
Okay.
Again, I reiterate that the proper process through the DOJ would be for the fiscal or the prosecutor to assess the evidence and to file the case. And the DOLE will be a witness. What we can do is to give you all the cases, administrative in nature, that are non-compliant. And then we see how it can be developed into a criminal case, right? But depending again on the prosecutor who will weigh the evidence and decide whether a case will be filed. And once filed, we will see in which court it will raffled off, right? And that's a long process.
I know.
If your honor and your office and regional offices nationwide and with your vast influence can help, we would be very happy.
Okay.
Ulitin ko po, kaisa po niyo ako sa inyong advokasya para bigyan ng hustisya at karampatang benepisyo ang ating manggagawa. As I said many times today, they're the engine of our socio-economic development. So we must protect them.
Okay.
Unfortunately, and I'll be very truthful, it's a long process. And I would like to see the non-compliant employers, yes, charged. And so that it would be a lesson learned, that's what you're saying, for all the others to comply with the law. Because napakaliit na nga ng minimum wage, hindi pa living wage, hindi pa binibigay ng buo. I support you and I will be co-author of with your permission, of your bill on wage theft. Because I recall, when you were not yet senator, when we were before the campaign, you told me one of the first bills you will file is that bill. Yes, it's been 1 year and a half.
It's,
Yes.
nasa committee na yun.
Oh, yes.
And,
We will support you there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nasa committee na po yun. Hinihintay ko lang po ma-hear yun. Hindi naman po akong chairman. Ako po ay vice chairman lamang.
May I suggest again,
already
Mr.
forwarded
President?
to the committee and I'm still
Yes.
waiting na yun po ay ma-hear.
Majority Leader, magandang i-prioritize. So, may I suggest also, Mr. President, that if it is a priority measure, I share your advocacy. And if the chair of the committee would be willing to create a subcommittee, pwede po niyong i-hearing yon. Para po, bago sa susunod na taon, nakaharap ko po kayo sa budget ng DOLE na isabatas na yan. Para sabi nyo, may ngipin ang batas. Kasi ang DOLE, hindi nila kayang saklawin ang trabaho ng DOJ na siya pong gagawa ng kaso at sila po ang nanunungkulan dun sa pag-usad ng mga na-file na kaso. Pero kung meron na kayong batas na wage theft, and I agree with you in concept, then that would be very helpful. So you can create a subcommittee, right? Under whose committee it is. It's only a suggestion. If your honor wants it to move more quickly.
Matanong ko lang po, Madam Chair, ano, sa mga taga-DOLE. Halimbawa, ng mga manggagawa sa isang factory, paulit-ulit at matagal nang niloloko sila ng kanilang employer at hindi po binibigay yung kanilang tamang pasweldo, minimum, wala sila sa minimum wage, wala yung mga benepisyo. Kapag nalaman niyo po yan, na ganun po yung violation for the past, say, 10 years, ganun po yung gawain. Ano po usually ang ginagawa ng DOLE? Ano pong course of action? May I know?
That's all you can do. Compliance order. Kung di kayo pag-stay. So, all they can do when they visit them on non-compliant, issue a compliance order with double indemnity, and then, what's next? Subject to writ of execution, then they collect if they don't pay.
Good question. If they don't pay,
If they don't pay, there's garnishment.
warning?
Garnishment. Have you ever garnished?
Yes.
You've
Bank
done.
accounts, yes.
Okay.
Meron po
So,
bang nag-garnish?
Yes.
yes, they've garnished bank
Can I
accounts.
get a list of those companies na garnish?
They can give you a report,
Can
Your
I
Honor.
get a
Yes.
report? Yung mga nakita na
So,
may violation at na-garnish?
visitation, compliance order, then writ of execution, and hopefully they comply, double indemnity, but if not, writ of execution and garnishment, right? That's all you can do.
I'll tell you, Madam Sponsor, Mr. President, ito po, may record naman to, naka-upload naman to sa channel ko. Anong nangyari, may mga kumpanya, say, 10 years na hindi nagbibigay ng minimum wage sa kanilang mga trabahador. After 10 years,
Ano nakakalus din, Tenyo?
nakapag-isip, kaya nga, magandang tanong, paano nakalusot? After 10 years, magmamarcha po yung mga empleyado, gagawa kong computation. There are times, nakakasingil po ako, yung program ko ng 2 million, 3 million, ang pinakamalaki yata na singil 5 million, dahil parang 15 sila mga empleyado, nasingil ko, na hindi kayang singilin ng DOLE, hindi sa pagmamayabang, dahil 10 years. Pero kasing limit ngayon na up to 5 years lang ata ang pwede masingil. So kung lumapit sa akin yung mga empleyado, 10 years after, sorry na lang yung 5 years. Parang ganun ata hanggang 5 years lang ata ang pwede makolekta. Anyway, yan sinasabi kong proseso. So what I want you to do, DOLE, for the meantime, hanggat hindi pa naipapasa yung bill ko na wage theft, make sure na dapat may napaparusahan. Doon sa sinasabi nyo ng compliance, binanggit si Madam Sponsor na garnishment, execution, kung ano pa man yun, dapat meron talaga. Meron na pasara,
yes.
meron po na embargohan ng mga assets dahil ipambayad doon sa kanilang mga
rin kayo.
empleyado.
You know that.
In fact, meron po ako mga kumpanya na papalusot, tuturuan ko kayo dyan mga taga-DOLE. Inobliga ko yung employer na yung kanyang diamond wedding ring. Inobliga ko, biniro ko lang, pero yung biro ko, sineryoso niya, yung kanyang diamond wedding ring, isinanla niya para may pang sweldo lang.
Mr. President, I am told that
Para may pas...
yes, hindi po nila tungkulin at hindi po sila pwede magsara at magpasara. It's beyond their jurisdiction.
Hindi, kasi ang pagkakaintindi ko na sabi writ of execution, ano pa ba yung sinasabi niyo? Okay, sorry kung na-misunderstood niyo ako. Ang sa akin, just do something na para maramdaman nitong mga employer yung ngipin ng batas.
Yes. Do everything within their
Yes,
jurisdiction.
exactly.
But they cannot go beyond what is prescribed for them to do. Yeah.
Maybe pwede sila
But they can
mag-usap-usap,
coordinate
magkaroon-
with the other agencies kung
Exactly.
hindi
Nandiyan-
nasaklaw ng kanilang
Nandiyan
jurisdiction.
yung BPLO, Business Permit and Licensing Office sa LGU, pwede sila
Sa LGU. It would be
pwede
the
sila
LGU.
makipag-usap doon.
Yes.
Di ba? Nandiyan yung DTI. So pwede naman, kung gusto, maraming paraan. Kung ayaw,
Yes,
maraming
Mr.
dahilan.
President.
Di ba?
We take note of that.
ikabubuti ng
There's
mga
no
manggagawa.
disagreement. We take note of that. And they're listening intently. And we will ensure that they will be more proactive. They've been doing their best. But as I said, the cases, it should be DOJ. And the padlocking, it would have to be the LGU. But garnishment, etc., they've done that. They can even give you a list of some
Okay, sige, garnishment.
companies that have done that.
So gusto ko makita yung mga nag-garnish na mga kumpanya. Can
Yes.
you give me a report, a list?
Yes.
Para ma-advertise ko naman po. Nang
Yes.
ganon, makita ng iba, seryoso pala itong dole, wag natin gawin.
course,
So it will serve as like a warning. Ano po?
That's part of their accomplishment. And let me
Kailangan po
just-
maipaskil natin yung mga violators.
Yes. Paki-take note lang po na they would not consider garnishment as a punishment because that's mere compliance. Hindi pa ho yun parusa. Kasi pag gina-garnish mo, ibig sabihin kasi non-compliant sila, so that's part pa lang ng compliance, hindi pa sila
I know,
pinaparusahan.
pero at least accomplishment po yun.
Yes.
At least ibig sabihin, kumikilos po yung dole.
Yes.
At makikita din doon yung mga nag-garnish na kumpanya. Sasabihin ng mga kumpanya, ayaw ko malagay dyan sa listahan, ayaw ko ma-advertise. Kailangan bago dumating yan, magbabayad nila ako ng tama
Yes.
sa mga empleyado. That was my point. So at least kung ano yung nagawa ng dole, ibigay nyo sa akin para ipakita ko, ito, nasasampulan sila, hindi nagbabayad, nag-garnishan sila. Diba?
We take
bigyan
note
sila
of that.
magbayad.
Yes, Mr. President.
Yeah, okay. So let's move on. Isa na lang po. December on or before December 24, dapat po ibibigay yung 13-month pay at malapit na po ang Pasko. Every single year, starting January 10, pataas, sa action center ko po, 80% ng pila hindi po binibigay ang 13-month pay. Ano pong polisiya ang ginagawa po ng dole para masiguro na yung 13-month pay po ay naibibigay talaga?
Non-compliance pa rin. Non-compliance pa rin yan eh. Pareho rin po eh.
Opo. Kasi ngayon po, magpapasko na. Alam niyo po,
Yeah.
yung 13-month pay,
Agree.
doon po sa mga maliit nating kababayan, inaasahan po nila kasi extra money yan. Pinaplano nila. Ano
Agree.
bibili ko sa 13-month pay? Bibilihan ko ng sapatos yung aking bunso. Bilihan ko ng damit yung aking panganay. Kumbaga, pinapartition na nila yan sa isip nila kung anong gagawin. And then, boom, hindi bibigay. Kawawa naman.
Tayo po isang ayon talaga. Malaking bagay ang 13-month pay. At sana pag kumikita naman, gawin pang 14-month pay. Pero yung nag-issue na po sila ng labor advisory para ipaalala po na bago pang Desyembre ay ibigyan na yung 13-month pay.
Okay. Paalala po. Anong klaseng paalala, Dole?
Yung labor advisory.
that will be coupled with
Yes.
inspection.
Did you do it hard copy? Or
So doon po sa nagba-violate at hindi nagbibigay ng 13-month pay, halimbawa, pipila ko sa action center ko sa January, ano pong magandang gawin kaya sa mga yon, sa mga ulupong, sa mga bad na yon, mga tao?
Inspect the establishment and employer.
Ano magandang gawin? Oh, yung mga very bad. Kasi,
yung
kasi
sagot
po,
ko-
I assure you, by January 10 pataas, dadagsain na naman po ang action center ko ng mga pobre nating magagawa, nagreklamo sa pagka hindi po nabigyan ka ng 13-month pay. So they end up na pupunta sa
Can
sari-sari store,
kindly
mangutang para
furnish-
sa kanilang
Yes,
Noche Buena,
Mr.
etc.
President, pakibigay rin po yung mga pupunta sa inyo na hindi napunta sa kaalaman ng DOLE para po makita rin nila at magawa nila ang kaya nilang gawin. Kung hindi po
Nabayaran yung
nabayaran, kung
Kaya
hindi
po,
nila
ang
alam.
tanong ko nga po, paano
In
po-
short, share information
Yes.
with each other.
Ganun pong ginagawa ko, Madam President. Tumatawag ko sa Dole. In fairness sa Dole, sila po tinatawagan ko rin. Kaya ang tanong ko lang po, kasi this has been happening for so many years, parang regular naging norm na eh. Kumbaga parang normal na lang na every year, merong mga kinakawawa. Yung sa akin sana, pahinto na natin na dapat every year, wala na pong kawawang mga manggagawa na ibibigay na po yung 13-month pay kasi nasa batas po yan at karapat-dapat na matanggap nila yan. Sabi ko nga po, marami sa kanila, kasi extra money yan, malayo pa lamang, pinaplano nila kung paano gastusin yung 13-month pay, kasama na dyan pang Noche Buena, tapos hindi pala nabigay, kawawang-kawawa naman sila. Parang napapabayaan
Tayo
na.
po ay nakikiisa sa inyo na dapat ang minimum wage ay sundin. Patas yan eh. Dapat ang 13-month pay ay sundin bago Desyembre. Ito po ay merong tayong compliance rates by region. Yung 2022 at saka 2023, bibigay ko na lang po through DOLE sa inyong tanggapan. It's a long matrix and the targets and the compliance per region. Pero more than these matrices, more than these numbers, it's really the proactive behavior of everyone concerned in DOLE to make sure that not just a minimum wage, but the 13-month pay is followed closely, efficiently.
Siguro po, Madam President, Madam Sponsor, Mr. President, siguro yung DOLE, pagdating sa 13-month pay, pwede ho kayong magipag MOA sa mga taga-LGU para, ito po akin lamang pong opinion, say kung workable po ito, na yung mga hindi nagbigay ng 13-month pay, hindi i-renew yung kanilang license sa BPLO hanggat hindi na ibibigay yung 13-month pay. How's that? Is that something doable? Legit ba yan?
Can you
Pwede
do
ba
a
yan?
MOA with LG?
Magkaroon ng MOA? Na kapag hindi nyo binigay yung sa mga kumpanya na hindi nagbigay ng 13-month pay, kasi yearly po, ni-renew yung lisensya sa BPLO, sa LGU, hindi muna ibibigay, hindi muna ma-renew ang inyong license hanggat hindi nyo nakukomply yung 13-month pay. How's that?
So perhaps
Meron tayong dating mayor dito. Maybe he can give an opinion. Si Senator Win Gatchalian, who's a former mayor.
Madam Chair, if I may intervene, I think it's possible. The local government units have broad powers looking after the general welfare of their constituents. So any violation of any law can be grounds to revoke the business permit being given by LGUs. Of course, the DOLE needs to link up with the different LGUs. For example, in Valenzuela, I know that we work very closely with DOLE because we have a lot of factories there, we have a lot of businesses, and we work very closely with DOLE, both in terms of industrial peace para wala pong mga strike at wala pong mga problema. And then if there are any violations against our workers, the local government takes a proactive role to warn the businesses through the use of that business license and business permit and licensing powers, Mr. President. So it's a good idea, and I appreciate the comments of the good Senator to bring this out to the fore. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Win Gatchalian.
Yes, thank you, Senator Gatchalian. Mr. President, we were discussing a possible convergence MOA between the DILG and the DOLE, so that at least if we have the DILG on board, they can proactively advise and help monitor the business establishments in their LGUs.
Thank you, Madam Sponsor. Ngayon, tulong naman. Pure tulong to, Madam Sponsor, Mr. President. Now, NLRC, the past many years, palagi ko pong nababati ko sa NLRC dahil pupunta sa akin mga complainant, nanalo na sila sa kaso, pero pagdating sa oras na sila po ay dapat mabayaran na, parang paper victory lang sapagkat yung mga employer nagtatago na o nailipat na po yung kanilang mga assets sa iba't ibang mga pangalan. Nasisisi ko palagi yung mga sheriff. And then kasi sabihin ng sheriff, wala akong panggasolina. Kung minsan yung mga sheriff nakikiangkas pa doon po sa pamasahe. So, I talked to some people sa NLRC, na-realize ko na po kung bakit ganon. So, naintindihan ko na po sila. Nakita ko po kung saan yung problema. So, kulang po sila sa budget. Wala bang DBM tayo rito? Madam Sponsor? Wala? Nagtago ang DBM?
We can, even if the LBRMO is here, and we would be happy to receive an amendment from the good Senator.
Kasi, Madam President, nalaman ko lang na ang allowance ng isang sheriff kada buwan para i-execute yung order sa kanya na ma-implement yung pagkapanalo ng nagreklamo, doon sa 5,000 na yun, kasama na yung pamasahe niya, kasama na yung panggasolina niya o transportation, kuminsan umabot ng 20 po in a month yung mga pupuntahan niyang mga employer. So just imagine kung 5,000 yan at 20 ang na-assign sa kanya ng mga kaso na pupuntahan niya, na imbestigahan niya kung nasaan ang bank account nito, kung may mga asset pa ba ito and all. So kulang na kulang po yung 5,000 per sheriff na allowance a month. So kung akong tatanungin, baka po natin doblehin yun para mas maging effective po yung ating mga sheriff. Nang sa hindi na po sila palagi magpalusot na walang gasolina na mag-aangkas pa sa motor ng mga complainant.
Yes, it's not just the NLRC, but all the other agencies that have sheriffs. If Your Honor can amend it, because it comes from the MOE, and yes, we can add, it's within our power, that's why we're discussing the budget.
Thank you.
You can increase the MOE, at least if Your Honor wants to help the sheriffs, it can be additional MOE in the NLRC budget under the DOLE. So we will await that amendment and submit it to the LBRMO so that can be adjusted.
Right. Okay. At dagdag po dyan, Madam Sponsor, nakita ko rin po yung problema na kulang po sila sa sheriff. Kulang po. So kailangan siguro magdagdag tayo ng sheriff
That's
para
DBM.
mas maging
We have
epektibo
DBM
yung
here, right?
pag-implement ng writ of execution doon sa mga kumpanya na natalo. So kung kulang po yung sheriff, kaya pala yan ang isang dahilan kung bakit babalik po sa akin yung complainant. Sir, isang taon na po kami nanalo, hanggang ngayon hindi ko pa po nakolekta yung aking kong pinanalo. Malaman-laman ko, bukod dun sa kulang yung budget ng sheriff para bumiyahe, kulang din sila. So baka po natin dagdagan.
If the
Yung numbers of sheriff.
if the sheriff, that's plantilla, right? Yes, we would have to make a request with the DBM. We cannot. I don't think there's time in November, so that in January that could be made effective. But the DOLE would have to make a request for the 2025 NEP, right? So
Naka-pending na po ata yan sa
is there a request?
sa Department of Budget, DBM.
There's a request pending in the DBM. We have a DBM representative in the gallery now. I'm not certain if the DBM
Okay ba
would
sa
have been
DOLE
answered.
na dagdagan yung sheriff? Mukha kaya ata ng DOLE.
No, of course they want that.
Okay.
There's a pending request.
Kasi nakita ko ganun eh.
No, there's a pending request of NLRC for an increase in provisions, line items for sheriffs. Yes, there's a pending request, Mr. President.
Okay. So there's a pending request. Yan po yung gusto ko mangyari sana na madagdagan po silang tauhan at madagdagan din po yung sweldo ng mga sheriff nang sa gayon hindi po na magiging paper victory lamang yung panalo po ng mga mga kababayan, pobreng mga magagawa na nag-file ng case sa
Yes.
NLRC at after manalo, after so many
Yes.
years, wala palang napupunta.
Just so that it's clear, the allowances of the existing sheriffs, Mr. President, can be adjusted with the amendment of the good senator under MOE, and that we will readily accept, and we welcome that. The additional hiring of sheriffs is a pending request of the NLRC DOLE with the DBM. It has not yet been acted on favorably because that would fall under PS or Personnel Services and would have to be approved by DBM. There is no time until the time that the President signs the budget, hopefully in December, for the DBM to approve this, unless it's highly improbable, imposible na. Then that could be worked on in the coming year so that in the next year's NEP, the additional PS for sheriffs could be included.
Okay, and the last
Thank
but not the least, doon po sa mailing system nila, napag-alaman ko rin po na kapos po sila. Hindi po enough yung naipapadala na bibigyan na budget para mapabilis po yung
Kayo po ay mag-amend para po sa MOE karagdagan for the sheriffs and for the mailing system. Thank you.
Okay.
We will accept. Thank you, Mr.
And
President.
NLRC, nakita nyo, sinuportahan ko kayo, pero magtrabaho kayo. Dahil kapag hindi, babalikan ko kayo. Maraming salamat, Madam.
I assure you, Mr. President, nagtatrabaho.
Madam Sponsor, thank you very much.
Salamat. Thank you very much for the very good interventions of the kind senator. Yes, and as I said, both the special provisions and the addition for MOE for NRLC will be awaited and accepted. Thank you.
Thank you very
And unity is now in order for today's interpellation. Senators De La Rosa and Intel are recognized.
May we recognize the sponsor, Mr. President,
Yes,
Senator Bato de la Rosa.
Senator De La Rosa is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Majority Leader. Mr. President, for the record, your Senate Committee on Finance recommended budget for the Office of the Presidential Advisor on Peace, Reconciliation, and Unity is 6,997,185,000. Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, distinguished colleague, the sponsor of the measure. Mr. President, first to interpolate the budget of the Office of the Presidential Advisor on the Peace, Reconciliation, and Unity is no other than the distinguished gentleman from the great province of Nueva Ecija and Camarines Norte, no other than Senator Robin Hood Padilla. I move that he be recognized.
Senator Padilla is recognized.
Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo, at sa ating pong punong mayurya. Isang magandang paggabi po sa ating ginagalang at iniidolong senador, sa Senator General Bato de la Rosa. Isang magandang gabi po. At sa lahat po ng bumubuo ng OPA crew. A'udhu billahi minasyaitanirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Bismillahi wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillahi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mahal na Ginoong Pangulo, ang usapin po ng kapayapaan ay isang bagay na dapat ay niyayakap ng bawat Pilipino. Sapagkat ang kapayapaan, ito po ang susi para tayo po ay magkaroon ng tunay na pag-unlad. Hanggat meron po tayong tinatawag na mga kaaway mismo dito sa loob ng ating bansa, napaka-imposible na magkaroon po tayo ng pag-unlad. Sapagkat ang mangyayari lamang po, para lang tayo naglolokohan, magkakaroon tayo ng mga pag-unlad na infrastruktura, pero gigibain din natin pag nagkaroon tayo ng gera, pagkatapos ng gibaan, gawaan uli, lokohan po ang tawag doon. Kaya ako po ay sumusuporta dito sa OPA-Pro sapagkat ito pong kanilang misyon ay hindi lamang po sa usapin ng isang bayan, isang probinsya, kung hindi para po sa buong Pilipinas. Kaya po sana, ang hinihingi ko po sa ating bulwagan ay mabigyan po natin ng sapat na pansin at sapat na budget pa ang OPA-Pro. Pero, mahal na Ginoong Pangulo, sa lahat po ng pagkakataon, siyempre, kailangan po ang output. Hindi po pwede na wala tayong output. Kailangan po natin maintindihan ng bawat Pilipino kung papaano po nakukumbinsi ng ating mga bayani, kung ano pong tatawagin ang aking kaibigan na si Secretary Galvez at ang bumubuo po ng OPA-Pro. Kung paano po nila nakukumbinsi yung mga combatants, yung mga tinatawag po nating mga rebelde na nanumbalik na sa ating pamahalaan na hindi na bumalik uli sa pakikipaglaban. Ganon din po yung kanilang mga anak o mga apo o mga kamag-anak. Kasi po, ang nangyayari sa aking pong obserbasyon, lumalahok ang mga nakatatandang miyembro ng mga rebelde. Sila ay pumapasok uli sa gobyerno, sila uli ay nanunumbalik, pero katulad po na nangyari sa Marawi Siege, yung kanilang mga anak, kanilang mga apo, ay hindi nila nakumbinsi. Ito ay humawak uli at humawak ng armas. Ganon din po sa mga Abu Sayyaf. Yung mga Abu Sayyaf ay mga apo, mga anak ng mga MNLF. Kaya po sana, mahal na Ginoong Pangulo, hayaan niyo po akong makapagtanong ng mga ilan pong mga punto. Katulad po, halimbawa, magmula po ba noong nagkaroon tayo ng, baka po lang may record po kayo, magmula po nagkaroon ng peace agreement, balik lang po natin, magmula po doon sa panahon ng, kung meron lang po, ng panahon po ng MNLF at ng, hindi po MILF, ng MNLF at ng gobyerno natin, magkano po ba ang naibigay ng ating gobyerno sa MNLF? Kung meron lang po kayong record, kung may existing po, mahal na Ginoong tagapamahala.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sa ngayon, actually ang hawak nila ngayon na records ay limited lang muna dito sa MILF, Your Honor. But as far as the MNLF history is concerned, as far as their institutional memory is concerned, ang binigay po ng gobyerno sa mga MNLF ay limited lamang sa integration. Meaning, yung mga MNLF combatants doon na nagsurrender, yung bumalik sa gobyerno ay na-integrate sa Armed Forces of the Philippines at saka sa Philippine National Police. So yun lang po ang naibigay. Unlike yun sa MNLF. Unlike sa MNLF ngayon, medyo mas comprehensive yung kanilang natatanggap na socio-economic assistance package. Yung isang MILF combatant ngayon ay nakakatanggap ng initial cash assistance na 100,000 pesos. Plus, meron silang livelihood programs and other socio-economic assistance, estimated study grants, skills training, and social protection based on the result of the needs assessment conducted for each of the decommissioned combatant at an average cost of around 1 million pesos per combatant. Kasama niya yung buong package niya na
Sa bawat
Your
isang,
Honor.
sa bawat isang surrendery po yun.
Yes po.
Sa MILF po yun.
Pero ang cash dyan is 100,000.
100,000.
Lamang.
Opo.
All others are given in kind. But that amounts to almost around 1 million per decommissioned combatant.
Magmula po noong Ginoong tagapamahala, magmula po noong nagkapirmahan at pumasa at nagawa ang BARM, ilan na po ba ang combatants na nag-surrender ng kanilang mga armas? At ilan na po ang nakakuha nitong package na ito na nakakahalagang 1 million?
Sa kasalukuyan, Your Honor, a total of 26,132 MILF forces and 4,625 weapons have been decommissioned under phase 1, 2, and 3. Pagdating sa gastos na naibahagi sa kanila ay yung national government po ay nakapag-allocate pa ng over 19 billion pesos na pamana projects from 2017 to 2022 across the country. The pamana supports the building of peaceful, progressive, and conflict-resilient communities and boosting economic activities in the region where they have been implemented. So far through pamana, 19 billion pesos na po ang nagastos ng ating gobyerno.
Ilan na lang po bali ang nananatili? Nasa
Ang-
40,000 competent, mga 15,000 na lang po ba?
Around 14,000,
About
Your Honor.
14,000. Lahat po ito, ginoong tagapamahala, nagkaroon na ng livelihood.
26,000, Your Honor.
Kasama po dito yung bahay. Meron po ba silang bahay? May housing po ba sila?
Ongoing daw yung pabahay para sa kanila that will start 2024. Nag-start na. Mag-start 2024, Your Honor.
Okay po. Magkano po ba ang budget para po sa decommissioning ng MILF forces po natin ngayon pong 2024? Magkano po?
Your Honor, there is a total of 9.7 billion pesos is needed to fulfill the targeted normalization program for fiscal year 2024. Of the total funding requirements for
9 billion po, 9 billion.
9.7 billion.
Para
Ang
po
requirement.
dun-
Requirement
para po
para-
doon sa natitirang 14,000?
Yes po, Your Honor. Ito po yung
Magkano
kinakailangan.
po ang na-approve itong 2024?
Ang na-approve is only 899 million 314,900.
Aba,
So-
parang 10% lang yata yun.
Less than.
Opo,
Mas mababa pa sa 10%.
Aba, paano po yun? Paano po yun? Ilang libo po yun? Doon sa 800 million na yun, ilang libo po yun? 1,000? 1,400, malamang. 1,400 lang. Paano po kaya yung matitira?
We expect with the lack of funding support, we expect really Your Honor that the normalization program will be delayed and delayed again.
Mahal na ginoong tagapamahala, medyo lungkot po ito sapagkat ilang taon na rin po nangyari ang peace agreement. Marami na din po siyempre ang ating, pagka sinabi po nating combatants, kasi ito po yung ground. Ito po yung tinatawag nating nasa grassroots. Sila yung totoo. Pagka ganito po na, paano po ba ang mangyayari? Every year, 10% lang? O wala pang 10% ang pwede nating bigyan? Di ba po meron niyang palugit sa batas? Meron pong sinasabi sa batas ang palugit niyan?
Totoo po, Your Honor, ang palugit na binigay ng batas ay hanggang 2 taon na lang. So, within 2 years, the normalization phase should have been completed, the normalization program. So, kung hindi ito mapunduhan ngayon, normal na madelay na naman. So, hopefully, next year, mapunduhan ito para hahabulin ng ating ating mga in charge dito yung normalization process.
Opo. Kasi po, ginoong tagapamahala, tunay pong napakahalaga na mayroong tayong independent na BARM na hinahangaan po natin sapagkat ayon po sa mga statistics, nagpe-perform very well ang BARM. At katunayan, pati ang kanilang sa poverty na paglalabanan nila, pati ang kanilang agriculture, maganda. Pero kapag yung mga combatants ang hindi natin nabigyan ng pansin, magiging suliranin ito. Sapagkat sa isang sabihin na po natin, ano, ang BARM ay isang probinsya na masasabi natin na napakalaki ang kanyang sinasaklawan. Sabihin na nating mahusay ang gobyerno, magaling ang gobyerno, pero ang tanong, sa batang edad ng pagkakatatag ng BARM, hindi pa nararamdaman ng mga nasa baba yung progreso na yun. At ang nakikipaglaban para doon sa progreso na yun ay yung mga combatants na hinihikayat natin na wag nang bumalik sa pakikipaglaban sa gobyerno. Pero eto tayo ngayon, kulang tayo ng pondo. Nakakalungkot lang lamang po yan sapagkat sa inyo po bang kaalaman na mahal na tagapamahala, magkano po ba ang block grant natin sa BARM?
The annual block grant of BARM is around 70.5 billion, Your Honor.
Kapag sinabi pong block grant, yan po'y binibigay natin ng buo ng walang question.
Yes po.
Opo.
And they're free to spend it
Kung saan po nila
on their
gustong
own.
dalhin.
Yeah, according to their budget that is formulated by their own parliament.
Bukod po doon, meron pa po ba tayong binibigay ang national government sa BARM?
Yes, Your Honor, we are giving them annually the special development fund of 5 billion pesos within the next in the next 10 years from the enactment into law of the BOL. 10 years na magbibigay tayo ng 5 billion pesos annually for a special development fund that will be used for the repair of the damages in the war-torn areas in in southern Philippines.
Bali, lumalabas po na parang nasa 76 billion? Parang ganun po ba? Ilan po yun? 70
70 billion yung kanilang
plus
annual
5.
block grant.
So, parang
Plus 5,
so
so-
mga 75.
75, around
Plus.
75. Yeah.
Buo po natin binibigay yan. Opo. Sa inyo po bang palagay, mahal na tagapamahala, ano po ang mas mahalaga sa ngayon sa OPAPRO? Yung po bang binibigay natin na 75 billion, siyempre, mahalaga yon. Pero ano po ba? Yung combatants, kung pwede po ba natin may timbangan tayo, ano po ba ang ating prioridad? Mabigyan po natin maibsan natin yung ating mga ipinangako dito sa mga combatants, maibsan natin, maitawid natin, matupad natin ang kanilang mga pangako, ang ating mga pangako sa kanila, o maibigay natin yung 70 billion at 5 billion na yan. Ano po ba ang sa palagay po ninyo? Kasi ang gobyerno, alam ko naman po na tayo nga po kapos na kapos din ang gobyerno. Kailangan po tayo may priority. Ano po ba dapat ang priority natin?
Well, Your Honor, before I answer your question about priority, I would like to correct my earlier statement that actually it is correct yung 70 billion na annual block grant plus 5 billion special development fund and another 5 billion share in taxes, fees and charges collected in the BARM. So a total of 80 billion, 80.5 billion yung natatanggap ng BARM government annually. So going back to your question about prioritization, well, para sa akin, right now, I can answer you that para sa akin, parehong kailangan talaga yon. Dalawa, they are on equal footing. Dahil nga, itong namang block grant ay ginagamit po ito sa kanilang pagpapatakbo ng kanilang gobyerno. Sigurado, kung bibigyan ito ng least priority, it will defeat the purpose of having a BARM government. But yung patungkol naman doon sa mga armado na mga combatants na kailangan natin talagang i-priority yung normalization, no? I agree with you na napakahalaga po niyan. In fact, if you want immediate peace, instant peace, and lasting peace, ay talagang dapat yon ang mauna. Dahil wag sanang masamain yung ating posibleng habang andyan pa sila, hindi pa sila na decommission. Well, kung meron kang armas, it's normal that you will be madali kang may tsansa na matim ka talaga to commit crimes. So, kung ma-decommission na ito sila at nabigyan na ng socio-economic package, then I'm sure lasting peace will prevail all over the area of the BARM area.
Tama po kayo, ginong tagapamahala. Parehas po talaga itong may bigat sa timbangan. Pero noong ako po ay nakapanood minsan ng isang parang sa budget din yata yun sa mababang kapulungan, sa malaking kapulungan. Nabanggit po ng isang mambabatas doon ang patungkol sa unused funds. At ang pagkakadinig ko po parang nasa 50 billion yata yun, 50 billion. Meron po ba kayong knowledge dito patungkol po sa unused funds ng BARM na hindi po nagamit?
Well, meron lang akong narinig, Your Honor, na hapyaw, but as to the details, aalamin ko pa po yung details tungkol dyan sa unused funds na yan.
Kaya ko po lang naitanong, ito po bang, halimbawa, ito po ay meron talagang unused funds. Hindi po ba natin pwedeng kausapin ang BARM na ponduhan muna itong 8 billion para po sa kanilang mga combatants? Hanggat wala tayo, hanggat inaantay pa natin. Hindi naman po yan thank you lang. Kumbaga parang babayaran naman ng gobyerno bilang partnership. Kasi ang alam ko sa isang peace agreement, partnership yun Dalawang partido yun na nag-uusap. At ang pinakamahalaga, dahil gobyerno na rin naman ang BARM, at gobyerno talaga na tumatakbo at maganda ang ginagawa, at kita naman sa mga statistics na sila'y talagang mahusay, pero merong combatants na naiwan Kailangan natin harapin yun Hindi natin pwedeng hindi harapin at sasabihin lang natin sa kanila, next year kayo. Next year kayo. Hindi pwedeng puro next year. Ang taong nasa ground na tunay na nakakadanas ng kahirapan sa 24 oras na umiikot ang panahon, hindi natin pwede sabihin, next year na kayo. Yun lamang po, parang para sa akin, baka kung meron naman sa pamamagitan po ng magaling na pakikipag-usap ng aking kaibigan, na si Secretary General Galvez, baka lang, kung wala naman tayong nilalabag na batas, kung ito naman ay madadaan sa mabuting usapan, bakit hindi po natin gawin?
Well, napakaganda po yung panukala mo, Your Honor. Siguro it's about time that the national government talks to the BARM government at pag-usapan ito. This is a good option. Napakaganda po itong option na ito, barring any legal complications.
Opo,
Kung wala
opo.
naman tayong malalabag na batas, then baka magandang pakiusapan. Kasi nga, right now, when we say about obligations or whatever. BARM is not legally mandated to contribute to the government of the Philippines for normalization. It is not mentioned in the annex on normalization nor in the Bangsamoro Basic Law. But, as you have said, as you have clearly pointed out, it is a very good option, and that recommendation is very, should I say, napakaganda. Magtagalog na rin ako. Napakagandang suggestion po yan. That would be, if that suggestion will be accepted by both parties, by the BARM and the national government, then we can call that the Padilla recommendation. The Padilla recommendation that will end all problems in the Bangsamoro region.
Inshallah, mahal na tagapamahala. Sapagkat naniniwala po ako na parehong maganda ang intensyon ng
Yes.
gobyerno at ng BARM. At ito pong magandang intensyon na ito, ay makikita lamang po natin ang magandang kinabukasan ng BARM kung ang mga combatants ay tunay po na mararanasan nila ang progreso.
Yes, Your Honor, but if I may, with your permission, I would like to ask the minority leader, if the unused funds of BARM, after one fiscal year, will it be returned to the national government or not? It stays with them. So, okay, if it stays with them, then
Discretion na po nila, di
yeah,
ba?
that's a good discretion
Discretion na
nila
po
yun, how
nila,
to
opo.
deal with that fund. So, thank you, minority leader, for that information.
Mr. President, with the permission of our colleagues, but parang may fiscal autonomy concept na rin po yan sila. So it's
Yes.
the assembly which should now enact the budget ordinance. So pwedeng pakiusap pero obligasyon natin yun as parang sa isang agreement. So we can alleviate the situation na merong sumasalo in the meantime, but still, masisingil ang national government sa kanyang commitments, Mr. President.
That's correct.
Yan ang expectation ng other party, other contract.
Thank you, Minority Leader, for that input.
Yun po, mahal na tagapamahala, yun naman po yung ating mungkahi na kung tunay talaga ang intensyon ng bawat isa, hindi dapat ito mauwi sa usapin ng pera. Sapagkat ang pera, yan ay instrumento lamang. Hindi yan ang buhay. Itong ating pinag-uusapan dito ay kung paano mabubuo ang bansa. At ang bansa, hindi yan mabubuo kung ang tao sa loob niyan ay hindi masaya.
Yes, I agree.
Ang kailangan, itong mga taong napangakuan natin na magiging maayos ang kanilang mga buhay, dapat nating gawin. At yan ay sa loob na lamang ng 2 taon.
2 taon.
At bilang tayo ay partner, ako'y naniniwala na partner natin ng BARM. Bagamat sila ay may tinatawag natin na may autonomy, sila ay may sinasabi nga natin ay sila ay malaya, pero nasa isang bansa tayo. Tayo pa rin ay nasa isang bandila. At dapat yung bandila na yan ang sagisag ng ating pagkakaisa. Hindi usapin ng peso sign. Dapat tayo ay nagkakasama-sama, tayo ay lumalakad patungo sa tinatawag nating progreso, pwede natin iisang tabi lahat. In every rule, sabi nga nila. Ituloy mo na yung English na yun.
There is
Sa
an exception.
section.
Yes, Your Honor, alam po ninyo, yung sinasabi mo kanina na, yan nga, aside from their fiscal autonomy, they have political autonomy, alam nyo yung, nakalimutan ko to, dahil pilit ko tinatagalog yung gusto kong sabihin.
Englishin mo, boss.
Akala mo, magaling rin mag-English, no? But anyway, Your Honor, nakalimutan ko na tuloy. Yung, you know, naalala ko na, I hate to use the term GPH, Government of the Philippines, and the BARM. I hate to use that term because parang bang ina-alienate mo yung BARM from the Government of the Philippines, GPH. Yan kasi ginagamit ng term. But right now, I don't want to use that term. I want to use the national government, the term national government, rather than GPH. They're always using GPH. Para bang Government of the Philippines in one side and BARM in the other side, para bang hiwalay sila sa gobyerno natin. They are still part of the Philippine government. That is why we are giving them black grant because they're still part of the Philippine government. They're part of our territory. Kaya nga, I hate to use that term GPH. I want to use national government. That's more in the for purposes of unity. That is more appropriate. I think so. They are in agreement with me. So that's it, Your Honor.
Apo. Maraming salamat po, Ginong Tagapamahala. Yun lamang po ang aking gustong imungkahi at iparating sa OPAPRO. Ako naman po ay katulad ng sinabi ko kanina sa umpisa pa lang, ako po ay 100% nakasuporta sa OPAPRO mula noon hanggang ngayon. Ako po ay nasa likod nila sa usapin ng kapayapaan at ang akin lang pong minungkahi ay upang magdire-diretso na. Huwag na po natin hayaan pa na ma-impluwensyahan pa ng mga dayuhang maling ideolohiya yung mga bata sa BARM. Yun lamang po. Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Tagapamahala at sa lahat po ng bumubuo ng OPAPRO. Ganun din po sa inyo, Ginoong Pangulo. Maraming salamat po. Maraming salamat din po sa ating pinunong minorya.
Maraming salamat, Your Honor. Rest assured, lahat tayo dito, kahit na yung mga cameraman na yan, kahit na yung kung sino mang nandito, pati mga janitor, lahat tayo ay gusto, kahit na sila ay mamusliman o makristyano, lahat tayo ay gusto talaga ng kapayapaan. So, nagkakaisa po tayo dito. Maraming salamat po, Your Honor.
Senator Pimentel is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Napakagandang interpellation po ni Senator Robin Padilla. Dami nating natutunan, namulat yung ating mga mata sa actual situation at pati dun sa ating mga past commitments na dapat di natin nalilimutan. Ang magandang point na lumabas po is meron pala tayong 2-year left in the time frame that we have to comply with our commitments under the decommissioning annex for the 2024 NEP, we are not funding anything doon? Or kulang?
Kulang na kulang talaga.
Yung ba yung 10% na nabanggit kanina or less than 10% na nabanggit kanina? Yun po yun?
Yes, Your Honor.
So,
10%.
yeah, so maling strategy po yata yun na if we have only 2 more years. Is it 2 more years or 2 more years after 2024? Or 3 more years from now? Ano ba?
Your Honor, supposed to be the decommissioning phase is only up to year 2022, but it was extended up to
Extended
2025. So, more or less 2 years remaining, Your Honor.
Sige po, pero parang maling strategy, parang hindi proportional yung ating budgeting, no? Parang may balloon. We need to fund it in bulk during the last few years. No? So there's something wrong with our approach. So siguro if the secretary can discuss this budget sa cabinet, you know, that the Senate has his support on this. Pero of course, it's a question of the availability of resources kasi 9.7 billion is what we need to fund for the next 2 years, bale. Okay, sige po. We get it, Mr. President. Oh, sige. So with that realization, may wish list pa ba ang OPAPRO? Do you have a wish list for 2024? Na hindi pa po nakasama sa aming Senate Committee report. Tandaan natin.
Unprogram. So, unprogram, Your Honor.
Entirety of the wish list, nasa unprogram.
Yes, Your
Okay,
Honor.
okay.
It's a total of 899 million,
Okay.
766 thousand.
The budget reflects the priorities of the administration. Lahat po ng inyong wish list ay in-accommodate sa budget na prepared by the executive branch. That means you are really being prioritized by the administration.
No, it's the Senate version, Your Honor. We're the ones who placed
Yes,
it.
sir. But our Senate version, ang adjustment natin, 51 million lang. 51.5 million. Internally, nag-adjust po tayo internally, meaning to say we decrease some and then we increase some items to the same amount. So,
Yes, Your
hindi
Honor.
gumalaw yung... So, since yan na po yung pinag-usapan natin, may we know sa anong adjustments ni subcommittee? Ano po yung ginalaw natin sa amounts sa OPAPRO budget, Mr. President?
We have realigned the 51 million from the capital outlay to MOOA to fund the coordination, monitoring, and evaluation activities of the Pamana program, Your Honor. Plus the program.
Yes, okay. So, yung program, pag-usapan na lang. Well, anyway, basta it reflects the priorities of the administration, pero better still sana kung nasa program. At least, nandyan po tayo sa budget in the program. Then we have a chance may chance pa rin ma-fund po yan, Mr. President. Siguro, appeal na lang to the Secretary, to the entire office to address the COA items. No? So, try your best, try your very best. Minanan lang po ninyo yung issues na yon. And then, na-accommodate po ba natin yung request ng National Amnesty Commission, Mr. President? Kasama doon sa ating
Yes,
committee report?
yes, Your Honor. Kasama po lahat.
Okay. Ang figure kasi sa akin, ang request is 60 million. Paano natin na-accommodate yun when we made adjustments of 50...
The 60 million na
51.5 million. Ang
60
adjustments
million.
natin, 51.5. Ang request is 60 million. Paano natin na-accommodate po yun?
no, it's included in the program, Your Honor.
Sa
The
unprogram
60.
na ilagay.
60. Unprogram.
Okay. Sige, and then can we get the reaction of the Secretary? There's a request that we introduce a special provision that the amount of 88,469,000 appropriated herein under the locally funded projects shall be lodged directly with NAC, the National Amnesty Commission, and used exclusively for the operationalization and implementation of the programs, activities, and projects of the NAC. Is this-
Yes, Your Honor. It's already included in our committee report. Yes,
Thank you
Your Honor.
very much. So, very proactive ang ating subcommittee chair na yung aking opisina ay behind na sa curve. Nagawa na. So ako papunta pa lang, pabalik na si Chairman. Done that na po siya.
But it's not an program, ha? Program yan. Program, right? Sa special provisions.
Special provision. Okay, the special provision. Yes, siguro. No. So do we have to be clear that we are referring to an appropriation in the program?
Additional na po itong 60, Your Honor.
In addition pa po.
No, in
Okay.
addition ito.
Okay. In addition to the 88
88,
million
yeah.
po. Okay, thank
In
you.
addition to the 88.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. So yung 60 million, when if ever these are funded and then released, will follow the spirit of the special provision, directly lodged with the NAC.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ganun na mangyayari. Okay. Or as long as that's clear, Mr. President, okay na po, Mr. President. May we get, siguro last topic na lang po ito, no? May we get the inputs from the office and from the Secretary on what measures are being taken to address the killings and disappearances associated with communist insurgency, Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. President, Your Honor, OPAPRO differs to the law enforcement agencies on the measures to address killings and disappearance associated with communist groups. So, makipagtulungan na lang sa law enforcement agencies, Your Honor.
Wala ba tayong parang filosofiya na gusto natin i-share sa kanila o panawagan na, Mr. President? Do we want to be that detached, Mr. President, and
Yes, Your Honor, OPAPRO, in coordination with all members of the security cluster, is advocating for the observance of the rule of law. Yung kanilang rules of engagement na minimaintain ngayon ng Armed Forces of the Philippines ay emphasis noon ay talagang observance of the rule of law. Yung rules of engagement na observe by the Armed Forces of the Philippines. And it is being monitored by the whole security cluster, not only the Department of National Defense, but kasama na dyan lahat, pati na yung DOJ, yung National Security Council, OPAPRO, they are always seeing to it that the rules of engagement with emphasis on the observance of the rule of law ay talaga ma-observe in all undertakings by the operating units, Your Honor.
and the rule of law puts high value to human life, Mr. President?
Yes,
Basta't implicit, implied na po yun. For the same, Mr. President, Senator Tolentino wants to interject something. Say, pare, go ahead.
Sorry. Yes, Senator.
And if I may add, Mr. President, Your Honor, the Armed Forces of the Philippines is very consistent. Every year, topping the list of most trusted government agency, national government agency. So palagi po yan, every year, number one palagi ang Armed Forces of the Philippines, most trusted. So siguro, that's quite an indicator that the rule of law is really being observed as far as the rules of engagement of the armed forces is concerned.
If okay with the chair recognizes Senator Tolentino.
The permission of the two gentlemen, just a minor interjection, which I think is germane to the topic at hand. Maybe know from the good sponsor his views on the latest intervention made by a United Nations rapporteur who was here for 10 days, lambasting NTF LCAC program for being anti-human rights because of some perceived violations relative to climate change initiatives. Perhaps the query made by the good minority leader has something to do likewise with this seemingly intrusive misobservance of a foreigner named Mr. Fry delving into our affairs. and as to how we should end communist insurgency here. Palagay niyo, tama ba yung sinabi nila na may nakialam na naman, lumabas ngayon, kalalabas lang ata ngayon yung statement?
Maybe, Your Honor, he is one of the most misinformed foreigner who set foot in this country. Baka ang narinig lang niya ng mga na side ay yun doon lang sa kabilang side. Hindi niya napakinggan yung side ng gobyerno.
So was the OPAP involved in during the visit preparations or of this UN observer? This is a breaking news. Palalabas lang po nito, mainit-init pa ito.
OPAP is not involved,
So hindi
Your Honor.
sila na-involved. So palalabas lang.
Had they been involved, for sure, magbabago yung paningin ng foreigner na yun sa Intep LCAC.
So
Kung in-involved nila OPAP, they will be informed accordingly. Hindi naman po sa porke na sa gobyerno tayo, pero yung tama lang na information dapat nakakarating sa kanila.
So this will be the news for tomorrow, that UN observer calling for the recommending that all NTF-LCAC activities be stopped. Yes, this is a breaking news. That's why I interjected. Yes, so lahat ng ginagawa, itigil na raw kasi it is anti-human rights and it will not end. So it will not end the conflict due to his mission is supposed to be for climate change activities. Hindi ko alam ba't siya napunta ron.
That is why we are in quandary right now, Your Honor. Intep LCAC is all about good governance and delivery of basic services to the communities. And they are not involved in armed confrontation with the enemies of the state. And why they are lambasting the Intep LCAC? Maybe they are being fed with the wrong information, Your Honor. And I hope they can be corrected.
I totally agree, Mr. President, Your Honor. That's why the peace process is really a very fluid dynamics that would involve not just local conditions, current events, even the appropriate resources, allocation of the government, and other societal factors that probably would be beyond the comprehension of foreign observers going here. Mr. President.
Yes, Your Honor. It's very clear.
So
Clearest day.
that will be the news for tomorrow. And your committee just made a response to that observation coming from an alleged UN observer. Thank you, Mr. Minority Leader. Thank you, Mr. President, for allowing this short interjection.
Thank you, Mr. President. So siguro, Mr. President, Chairman of our subcommittee has designed properly and accurately and appropriately the budget for the OPAP for 2024, at least for 2024. No? Lahat ng issues na raise ko, lahat ng proposed amendments ko, tapos na, nagawa na po niya. So I commend our subcommittee chairman for being an expert on the subject matter and for having anticipated all of the issues and accommodated all of the requests, executing a couple of agreements, peace agreements and other agreements with annexes. So always keep us informed, not only of the latest developments, but remind us of what is there, what are the contents of all of these agreements, parati, if possible, para we will appreciate the situation and then pagdating ng process talaga, although the executive has prioritized all of the commitments, we will appreciate it and maybe even suggest some augmentation or support. Pero siyempre, we have to know where to get it. So ganun talaga yung prioritization yan eh. So if this is the priority, that means some will have to, some other PAPs will have to wait because this is the more urgent and prioritized PAP. So once again, we thank the OPAP family, wish them all the best and congratulate our sponsor, Mr. President. He is very well prepared with the budget that he is defending. Thank you very much.
Actually, Mr. President, Minority Leader, kahit naitanong mo pa yung mga questions mo about the COA observations, I am very ready to give you the answers. But you said already you're no longer going to ask those questions. So, we're okay. Thank you, Mr. President, Minority Leader.
Pero by next year, Mr. President, sana kung maminosa na, kung pwedeng totally ma-eliminate na. Pero pag mag-reappear sa next year, then we talk about it. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Minority Leader. Thank you for that understanding.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we have a very able chairperson of OPAP. May I know, Mr. President, if the sponsor is listening, may we know, Mr. Sponsor, if the gentleman beside you is from the great province of Bulacan?
Yes, that's how great people from Bulacan.
I will no longer ask
No, no.
questions, Mr. President, and that's why at this juncture I move that we close the period of interpellations and debate and consider the budget of the Office of the Presidential Advisor on the Peace, Reconciliation, and Unity.
Recommended budget for the Dangerous Drugs Board is 334 million pesos in new appropriations, and for Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency is 4.07 billion pesos in new appropriations, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the permission of our sponsor, if I may proceed, Mr. President.
Yes, Your Honor.
We will try our visits. It's already 7 p.m. and susunod pa yung DAR and DA. This is also very important. We'll try to keep our interpellation short and sweet and not hallucinating, Mr. President. Taka ako magsisegue ngayon sa Dangerous Drugs Board, Mr. President. Mr. President,
Yes.
there is a rule, no? There's a rule that for prescriptions for so-called dangerous drugs, even to patients, the physicians, dentists, veterinarians, and other medical practitioners are to secure a special prescription. This is a DDB requirement, imposed requirement.
Yes, Your Honor. It is stated in Republic Act 9165, Your Honor,
Yes.
of the Dangerous Drugs Act.
The principle is there, pero the identification of what these dangerous drugs are, nasa kamay ng DDB. Apa.
Yes, Your Honor.
And so that means the DDB issues a special prescription form or authority, special license yata to.
The license, Your Honor, is being issued by Padilla, and the regulation is being exercised by the Dangerous Drugs Board.
Meaning to say, as to yung specific drugs that we need that the medical practitioner can prescribe under a special license issued by PDEA. Okay, we get
Yes,
it.
Your
Mr.
Honor.
Kasi kahapon sa DOH, may program sila, close to 1 billion pesos yon for mental health commodity items which will be available sa barangay health center. Are those medicines, mga 30 medicines daw yun, to be made available to the barangay health centers for mental health condition? Are those 30 medicines already known to the PDEA, and do this need special license for dispensing, Mr. President?
According to the DDB, Your Honor, not yet.
Please coordinate with the
Not yet.
DOH para...
They just met Your Honor yesterday with the Pain Society of the Philippines, because some of these drugs are not dangerous.
Okay.
So
Not, okay.
no need for license and
Correct,
special prescription from the DDB.
Most likely, since Barangay Health Center ang availability nitong 30 meds na to, these are not in the list. Ano bang tawag doon sa list? Parang may A, B at AB ba yan, Mr. President?
It's called the Controlled Medicines
Controlled.
Dangerous Drugs Schedule, Your Honor.
And then, how many schedules are there? Schedule 1, Schedule 2, parang gano'n, ano?
Yes, there are 4 schedules,
Okay.
Your Honor, Mr. President, based on the United Nations Drug Control Convention.
Guidance lang yun. That the United Nations issuances do not bind us. But we use them as our guidance.
We are a signatory to the convention, Your Honor. So I think it's binding for us.
CBD is a cannabis extract. Is CBD a cannabis extract? Considered a cannabis extract?
Yes, Your Honor.
Diba?
Yes.
Parang all cannabis extracts yata fall within one of these schedules, di ba? So, my point, Mr. President, kaya ko ito rin-raise, parang nagbago na ang attitude and policy as well as the legal rules over CBD of some countries, especially what we call the Western world, to which the Philippines is greatly exposed. So, ang kinakatakutan ko is there are some products readily available in those countries, legal, with CBD, which, unwittingly, some of our constituents and even probably visitors to the country may be bringing in. Technically, that's against the law as of the moment, Mr. President.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yun na.
Yes.
Now, anong alam natin na hindi nila alam o anong alam nila na hindi natin alam? Since the Dangerous Drugs Board is already aware of the situation, the changing attitudes as well as legal regime in other countries and scientific findings siguro, will we be adjusting our schedules, Mr. President?
Your Honor, as far as the DDB and PDI is concerned, we still follow our domestic law pertaining to drugs, and that is the Dangerous Drugs Act.
Yeah.
So we cannot just adjust right away without amending the law.
So the listing with the schedules is provided by law, not by an issuance of the DDB.
We just we follow the schedule given to us by the United Nations Drug Control Convention, Your Honor, and as far as illegal drugs is concerned, it is very clear in our 9165.
Yes,
Ano
yes,
yung-
oo. But yung specific naming, yung schedules doon, yung the extracts of cannabis, etc., is that part of the law or part of an issuance by the Dangerous Drugs Board pursuant to law?
It's part of the law, Your Honor, because according to the definition under Republic Act 9165, dangerous drugs include those listed in the schedules annexed to the 1961 Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs, as amended by the 1972 Protocol, and in the schedules annexed to the 1971 Single Convention on Psychotropic Substances, as enumerated in the attached annex, which is an integral part of this act. So meaning covered sila, Your Honor, by this
Correct.
act.
So, has the DDB added anything to that list?
There's none, Your Honor.
Nothing.
Nothing,
Okay.
nothing.
You have not added to the list. You have not subtracted from the list. Okay.
There's none, Your Honor.
Are those Western countries also a member of the treaty that we have mentioned or the agreement we have mentioned?
Yes, Your Honor, these Western countries, around the 140 countries are signatories to the United Nations Convention on Dangerous Drugs.
Okay, so it's clear now that the terms of the treaty can be adjusted by by a country, no? So, but in the Philippine setting, ang lumalabas from the inputs of the DDB, we need to do it through law, legislation. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
We'll take a look at that, Mr. President, kasi yung cannabis yata, to correct me if I'm wrong, the science behind this, dalawa yatang elements yan, the TH, that's not scientifically proven yet siguro, a claim medicinal or palliative or health, beneficial health effect. That's the claim, but di natin ini-endorse po yung finding na yon. So that is the case, yun lang yung ayokong mangyari, but has there been a case to the knowledge of the DDB na nag possession of a product with a CBD here in the Philippines?
Yes, Your Honor, there were several interceptions made at the airport, Your Honor, for going home Filipinos who were in possession of these drugs, Your Honor.
And legitimately available from his point of origin, tama? In the market
Yeah.
of his point of origin.
Legitimately available from
Yes.
his point of origin, but banned
Yes.
at the point of entry.
May we know how you treat such cases?
So, the same, Your Honor, we treat them as a violation. So, confiscated ang item, then cases will be filed against these people. So, maybe, kawawa rin yun. No? I get your point. Kawawa talaga yung mga Pilipino na akala nila okay na kasi okay sa Thailand. Bakit hindi okay sa Pilipinas? Ngayon, dinala na dito. Nahuli sila sa airport. Problema. So, maybe, kailangan natin siguro na public information drive
Nabawal.
according to this
But-
na bawal
Yes,
talaga ito.
nabawal. But is the DDB endorsing some revisit of the law? Change in our outlook towards this supposed to be non-addictive component called CBD?
Mr. President, according to DDB, yung inaalaw nila is yung meron lang 0.02% THC content. Medical preparation.
Medical?
Medical preparation. THC, medical preparation. 0.02.
What's
Percent.
THC?
Tetrahydrocannabiol.
That's the THC.
Yes,
That is
THC.
supposed to be the addictive component. So, okay.
How about yung hindi addictive?
Bawal. I mean, ako, bawal yun. Kasi I think scientific data tells us that that is the addictive component of cannabis. So, wala tayong dapat baguhin doon, na Mr. President. The other component na available na ngayon sa other markets, doon lang ako nag-alala. In good faith, binili doon, akala niya legal. Siyempre, ignorance of the law excuses no one. But the point is, this is a very complicated law found in an annex pa.
Well, as long as it is in a medical form that is registered in the country of origin, walang problema, Your Honor, pero iba talaga yung sinasabi mo. Iba yung gusto mong sabihin. Pero yung nga lang, we are constrained by law about our treatment. Hindi man pwede natin sabihin na hindi namin kakasuhan ito dahil naawa kami. Clearly, it's a violation of law. But as you have said, ignorance of the law excuses no one. So yan ang dilema ngayon ng Padilla at DDB. Kung paano treatment talaga, kawawa talaga.
Yes, if it's a dilemma, kaya nga nagtatanong ako, wala kayong mga recommendation sa amin eh. So apparently you don't find it as a dilemma eh. Kaya kung nga rin-raise ito, kung meron ba kayong mga, yung ano ba nangyayari sa ground, ini-intercept ninyo, kinakasuhan ba ninyo? Anong penalty? Non-bailable ba? Pero bailable naman pa. Sige, pasagitin mo muna ito.
Does Senator Tolentino want to be recognized, or shall we wait for the answer of the sponsor?
Yes,
please proceed.
yes,
Senator Tolentino is recognized.
President, just with the permission of the gentleman, just to make a slight interjection. Your Honor, perhaps the good minority leader is now bordering on a very controversial boundary relative to the medicinal effects of, I'm not an expert here of cannabis, I just rise, Mr. President, because this has been a very controversial issue in so far as the results of our, one of our newly proclaimed sports heroes, the results of that doping test on Justin Brownlee, allegedly from another country, showed some traces of cannabis to treat his left sore foot. So, Mr. President, if the minority leader would intend to pursue his intention of having a new legislated legislated annex that probably would include this very controversial area. Perhaps medical experts coming from the Department of Health would have to be the appropriate resource persons here. Baka hindi na masagot ni, although Senator De La Rosa is often referred to as Dr. De La Rosa, another field, public administration. Siguro, Mr. President, on another item, another subject matter, pag-usapan ito. But I agree, it's very pinasok sa Pilipinas, inarang, pero itong sa kanya, tinurok na sa paa, liable ba yun? Sa ibang jurisdiction naman yun ginamot. Considering that if it is correct, wala pa akong ruling yung Switzerland dito, if it is a correct diagnosis, o baka dinaya lang tayo sa Asian Games. So, I think, Mr. President, is very timely. Pag-aralan po siguro na magkaroon ng bagong batas tungkol dito. Thank you, Mr. President.
But yes, does the sponsor want to say anything?
Well, I just would like to point out, Your Honor, that during our talks with I just don't want to reveal these people, the names of these people, but high government officials of Thailand. Baka mamaya, we will have a knee-jerk reaction to this situation, no? Na hanapan talaga natin ng paraan na legal na makapasok yan, since legal doon sa ibang bansa, like for example Thailand. Nakausap po natin yung mga opisyal ng ibang bansa, like Thailand. Sabi nila, yes, yung legalizing all those things ay good for their tourism. Maraming tourist mapasok doon to avail of the legal status of that particular substance. But they have problem as far as their children are concerned. Kasi itong mga tindahan na ito ay walang limit kahit saan nilalagay. Kahit sa gilid ng eskwelahan, merong ganitong mga vending machine na anytime they can avail of that, then ang mga bata can easily access to this. So problema rin nila yan ngayon. Sinabi nila sa akin, pero hindi lang nila alam kung talagang yan ay official statement ng kanilang gobyerno, kaya ayaw nilang, hindi ko lang muna silang i-quote officially.
But that's not that's beyond what we're talking about.
Yes,
Mr.
yes,
President.
yes. I am just moving forward. I'm just moving forward, Your Honor.
Malayo na po yan because that includes
I'm just moving forward.
planting, growing, and even recreational use of. We are. That's not our topic, Mr. President. Yun lang ako. There's a phenomenon happening. Yun na nga, that an extract of cannabis which is found to be non-addictive is already legally available in markets of other countries where Filipinos are exposed to. We visit those countries and siguro unwittingly, in good faith, nabibili, nadadala rito. Tinatanong ko, nararamdaman nyo na ba yan? Nangyayari ba yan? How do you treat such a situation? Okay, sabi nyo, you cannot change the annex or any, you need a law. Okay, klaro. So how do you treat them? You file cases against them? Are the cases non-bailable? Para maramdaman namin ng urgency kung gano'n because may konting unfairness na doon. Pero tama yun, you're implementing the law. Ignorance of the law excuses no one, but the legislators must react to situations on the ground, Mr. President.
Well, depende, Your Honor, kung non-billable or not, depende sa threshold. Or the nature of the position, that's trafficking. Dahil pinapasok mo dito. Non-billable yun. So, non-billable, Your Honor.
Non-bailable.
Non-billable.
Okay, so, I don't know, that's, ako,
Importation.
that's why tinatanong ko yung what is happening on the ground and it's from the knowledge of the DDB. So, okay, so siguro nga we need to urgently revisit this kasi baka in good faith binibili dun eh. So, but we're limiting it to that extract which scientific data is telling us that it is non-addictive, di ba? Di ba? Yun naman yata yung and even non-addictive and non-mind altering. Yun yata ang importante sa lahat eh, Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. President, according to DDB, until now, WHO is still in the process of research as far as that
is concerned.
particular,
Sige pa.
yeah.
Sige, may
Going pa daw.
yung may alam siguro yung ibang countries pero hindi naman tayo din siyempre gaya-gaya lamang. I'm just worried about those who will be facing criminal cases na wala namang criminal intent. Although this is a special law, so criminal intent is not necessary for the commission of the crime. So Mr. President, so thank you. No? Wala kasi ako ibang mapagtanungan except PDEA and DDB for the actual situation on the ground. Ngayon, ito siguro last topic. There's a COA finding of lack of periodic monitoring and control procedures resulting in unliquidated fund transfers totaling 315 million pesos as of December 31, 2022. So, siguro, Mr. Sponsor, Mr. President, paano ba nila ito i-address, Mr. President?
The DDB Secretariat, Your Honor, has proposed to the board stringent measures to better facilitate the fund transfer, monitoring and liquidation of the funds provided to drug abuse treatment and rehabilitation facilities, including community-based drug rehabilitation facilities. The additional mechanism aims to further streamline the accountability procedure in fund transfer, Your Honor.
The recipients are also government entities or private entities?
Yes, Your Honor, there are drug treatment rehabilitation center and local government units that are maintaining and operating rehabilitation centers.
What other agency operates a drug rehabilitation center aside from an LGU?
DOH, Your Honor.
DOH.
DOH.
Pero ang pera, nasa DDB ang pera, and then
It's DDB is the conduit of the funds, Your Honor. Dinadaan lang sa DDB, then dinidistribute din sa kanila.
released by the DBM?
DBM to DDB, then
Yes.
there's a MOA between DDB and the implementer of the
Yes,
rehabilitation
yes,
program. Your
Okay,
Honor.
saan kaya, if just in case anybody knows, sang item in the GAA kinukuha ng DBM yung transferred amount? Meron ba yun? Special?
SAJF, Your Honor, special account under general fund.
So not, okay. So it's an automatic appropriation siguro. Just inform us saan nanggagaling yung amounts to be deposited to that SAGF account, Mr. President. Sige, kahit na in writing na lang po, Mr. President.
Yes, Your Honor.
So and then I hope by next year wala na po ito. We do not encounter this report. Maliliquidate na natin itong 315.7 million.
Yes, Your Honor. DDB promised to limit these deficiencies next year. If possible, totally eliminate all these deficiencies. But
Yes.
they will do their best, Your Honor. Because that is a recurring problem, Your Honor.
Hindi, bakit nga?
We hope it will not recur next year.
It's-
Bakit recurring?
It's an ongoing program. Dapat natututo tayo over the years, Mr. President. Hindi na siya recurring problem.
Your Honor, every year they're released with 77 million, and if the projects are implemented in 2 years, so naturally the following year hindi pa tapos itong project na ito. So talaga recurring talaga kasi yung ibang project maybe aabot ng 3 years. So at the end of the year magkakaroon talaga ng COA findings na ganoon, Your Honor.
But
So
siguro-
kaya nga, maganda na rin at binibigyan sila ng avenue to explain themselves.
dapat nalilesen din.
At talaga, Your Honor,
Apo.
dapat malilisen.
So, is the DDB a recipient of any confidential or intelligence fund?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Congratulations. And then last topic, Mr. President, have you heard of dangerous drugs being given as a reward?
Your Honor,
Nababasa natin yan eh. Gusto ko ba i-confirm kung totoo?
yes, that has been taken up in almost all our committee hearings, no? But PDEA and DDB and even the PNP always deny that policy. Talagang non-existent yan na policy, Your Honor. Kung meron mang gumagawa niyan, maybe yung mga it is not sanctioned or talagang it's downright prohibited by the leadership of this agency, Your Honor. But anyway, the Director General PDEA gave stern warning to the operatives to never do this kind of reward system. Padilla strictly implements the Operation Private Eye, which was institutionalized through dangerous drugs board regulation as a reward system for our private informants, which is anchored on Section 22 of Republic Act number 916. Meaning cash ang reward ng mga informants, Your Honor, hindi talaga drugs. We also require our operatives to use body-worn cameras during operations to promote integrity in the anti-illegal drug campaign and ensure compliance with the law on the proper disposition of illegal drugs. So, they are very consistent in denying that accusation, Your Honor.
Okay. If our sponsor says na it never happened, I will no longer pursue it kasi in-entertain natin, chismis na eh. So if it never happened, our sponsor says hindi nangyari yan, he's our top-notch investigator here in the Senate. Alam niya nangyayari. So,
Yes, Your Honor.
I will not pursue it anymore kasi di ba, pinapropagate natin yung kwento, hindi pala totoo.
Yes, Your
sige
Honor.
po.
It was clearly explained by no less than General Morolaso during one of our hearings. Nag-offer at right away sinabihan niya it is not our policy. Merong hindi siya part of the PNP or PDA organization, isang civilian
I get it.
na informant.
Nakwento lang niya yung
Nakwento.
offer.
Oo,
And the offer involved, sabi niya na, I'll give you information on this. Ito yung hall ninyo.
Basta ibalik niyo sa akin ng ganito.
Okay. So nakwento. Yun ang nagbigay ng buhay sa isa pang kwento na wala naman palang factual basis. So,
Yes, Your
so thank
Honor.
you for that clarification, Mr. Sponsor. And I find the overall the level of the budget of the dangerous drugs boards at a reasonable level, Mr. President. So we wish you all the best. Pero next time you encounter a dilemma, share the dilemma with us. Para alam namin na it's already a dilemma to you. Ano? Okay,
Yes.
hindi yung nagtatanong pa tayo ngayon and then you tell us it's a dilemma na pala. So, ano po tayo? Proactive. Let's take some proactive steps. Kasi evolving din yung evolving ang science, di ba? Gumagalaw din ang science and this is also based the list, the annexes are based on scientific findings. So, thank you. We wish the Dangerous Drugs Board all the best and once again we thank our sponsor, Mr. President. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Minority Leader. Salamat.
Thank you very much, Majority Leader.
Mr. President, there being no other reservation for interpellation, I move that we close the period of interpellation and consider the budget of the Dangerous Drugs Board and PDEA to be deemed submitted.
There being no...
Only Dangerous Drugs Board.
PDA, may PDA ka? Yeah, meron pa PDA.
I have questions for PDEA. I thought
Okay.
that was the
So
procedure
Dangerous
we're
Drugs
following.
Board.
So Dangerous Drugs Board, we approve, Mr. President.
Okay.
I'll recall my motion, Mr. President.
Yes, to be amended to just the Dangerous Drugs Board.
Dangerous Drugs Board.
There
Okay.
being no objection, the motion is approved that the budget of the Dangerous Drugs Board is hereby deemed submitted. We'll ask now the PDEA to remain.
PDEA is already seated there with us. Okay. So let's continue, Mr. President.
Please proceed.
Okay. PDEA is a recipient of CIF.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is it CF or IF?
It's CF, Your Honor.
To the tune of,
500 million, Your Honor.
is this, has PDEA been getting this amount year after year, Mr. President?
Yes, Your Honor. It has been consistent since
For how many years na siguro? At,
since 2019, Your Honor.
Okay.
It's 500.
Yes.
But before 2019, mababa lang, Your Honor. Mababa, 400 plus, 200 plus the year before. Then it was 2016 nga, 73 lang.
if I remember correctly, ang PNP magkano? Ang PNP yata, CF ng PNP nasa 800, yes, tama, parehas kami naalala ni Senator Tolentino, around 800 million. And that the PNP is enforcing the revised penal code and many other laws, Mr. President. I mean, but in ratio and proportion, is the amount we are giving the PDEA unreasonably high, Mr. President?
Well, Mr. President, pag sinabi ng PNP, kulang sila, sabi rin ng PDEA, kulang na kulang pa rin daw talaga yan.
Siyempre, kasi pero we have to measure it sa standards po natin as legislators, Mr. President. 500 for PDEA, drugs loss ang ano niya. 800 for PNP, revised penal code and many other special laws. Ang point ko, hindi sa kulang sa PNP. Are we giving too much to PDEA, Mr. President?
Maybe, Your Honor, because PDEA is combating transnational crimes, Your Honor. Malalaking sindikato ito at medyo mas mahirap kumuha ng informasyon pagdating dito sa drug syndicates, Your Honor.
Pinalista ko, pina-enumerate ko sa PNP ang mga achievements nila eh. Kasama sa mga achievements nila are drug-related operations eh. So may nag-overlapping na po tayo sa PNP. And pag tinanong ko po ang PDEA, what are your achievements? Tapos ikukumpara ko ngayon sa sagot dun sa PNP, I'm sure I will find some overlapping dun eh, sa dalawa.
Well, it happens, Your Honor, because they conduct joint operations, Your Honor, the PNP and PDEA. So some accomplishments are joint, and some accomplishments are, but all operations were being sanctioned by PDEA, whether it's being undertaken by PDEA operatives or PNP operatives. Lahat po yan ay under the supervision of PDEA, being the lead agency in the anti-drug operations.
Sige, can we hear from PDEA, Mr. President, through our sponsor, ano po yung, let us say, for the past 2 years, what would be your greatest achievements, Mr. President?
Sana yung...
Kahit na hanggang 5 po, the top 5 or the top 3, Mr. President.
Mr. President, for 2023 alone, the accomplishments of PDEA are as follows. 1,068 positive intelligence operations were conducted. 2,386 drug-related negation operations were conducted. 72 high-impact operations were conducted. 3,196 drug personalities were arrested. 50 minors were rescued. 263 high-value targets were arrested. 2.3 billion worth of dangerous drugs were confiscated. 5,702 drug cases were filed in courts. 5 additional Balay Silangan Reformation Centers were established. 1,850 advocacy activities were conducted. 27,903 barangays were drug cleared as of October 31, 2023. That's so far the operational accomplishments of PDEA.
Ito po,
Your Honor.
suggestion lang, Mr. President, na napapansin ko when they announce their achievements. You use the value. Pero I suggest hindi ako tumitingin sa value. We have to look at the volume. Kasi value, siyempre, naging 500 pesos, tumaas ang value. Pero look at the volume siguro of the whole of the catch. So, sige, so yung 2.3 billion pesos na nabanggit, ilang kilos po yun and what kind of drugs? Pag nagbabasa nga ako ng mga reports, nakikita ko yung mga amount, billions na. Pero I'm not impressed. Dapat na doon tayo sa ilang kilos po yun, ano pong volume yun.
Yes, Mr. President, as far as volume is concerned, 28,826 kilograms of crystalline shabu, 714 liters of liquid shabu, 99 billion pieces of marijuana plants, 16 billion pieces of marijuana seedlings.
May counting machine sila, Mr. President. You have a counting machine. You counted the seeds.
Well, individually, yung seedlings, Mr. President, hindi seeds. Seedlings. Seedlings talaga.
Seedlings.
By area daw yung computation, Mr. President.
Estimate. We were just lightening the mood, Mr. President. Okay. Estimated yun. Okay. Opo. Sige po, Mr. President. Can we get the assessment of our PDEA Director General on how bad the drug problem is, the illegal or dangerous drugs problem is in the Philippines? How bad is it?
So, Mr. President, the drug situation in the Philippines is still under control. Very much manageable, Mr. President. No cause for alarm as of now, Mr. President. The drug problem is under control. It's not
Okay.
really that bad.
It's not really that bad. Okay. Siguro, okay. So, PDEA is a 21-year-old agency, Mr. President?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, by this time nga siguro, with all of the resources being poured into PDEA, that should be the case. Sana nga, it has become a minor problem because the manufacturers, the traffickers are afraid to come here. Sana ganun ang nangyayari. It's not yet a minor problem.
Yeah, not yet a minor problem, Mr. President.
Ano pa kailangan gawin natin, Mr. President? To make the Philippines unattractive for drug traffickers, importers, and even manufacturers, Mr. President. Ano pa kaya ang kailangan natin gawin? Kasi 21 years old na po ito. Ang laki ng resources na binubuhos natin sa PDEA. Specialized Agency for Drugs. Dapat nararamdaman na natin ang resulta ng devotion of great resources to this to the fight against drugs, illegal drugs, Mr. President.
Again, Mr. President, I think we will go back again to the reimposition of death penalty against those high-profile or high-level drug traffickers, Mr. President, because if you have observed, countries that have that are imposing death penalty, particularly on illegal drugs, they are not encountering a big problem as far as drug is concerned, like China, Indonesia, Singapore. When you talk to the drug lords in Bilibid, they will say that they will not dare traffic drugs to Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, or China, because for sure they will be killed by because the law is very strict. They will
Killed by the state. Killed by the state. By the
Yeah.
state. Legal. Legal. What does the sponsor have in mind? Ano yung mga levels natin na which should warrant the death penalty in his mind?
when we say yes, Mr. President, the proposal of PDEA is that if the country of origin of these drugs or the country of origin of the drug offender imposes death penalty, when they are caught here in the Philippines, when they are arrested here in the Philippines, they should be meted with the death penalty also.
Following the same quantities in the country of origin. Kasi I'm sure may quantities din sila
Yes,
doon, sigurado.
yes, Your Honor. That is why these Chinese are very fond of trafficking drugs to the Philippines because wala tayong death penalty. Well, in China, sigurado mamamatay sila doon.
Sige po, yung mga nahuhuli natin sa drug cases natin, where are they detained, Mr. President?
Those who are convicted, Mr. President, are serving their sentences at the New Bilibid prisons, while those pending sentence, they are still with the BGMP.
BGMP jails.
And,
Okay.
yeah.
Normal
The
procedure.
normal,
Okay.
normal, Mr.
Hindi ba yung ating mga jails and prisons ay hell on earth? Hindi ba sufficient deterrent na yan to involve in drug trafficking in the Philippines?
Maybe not, Mr. President, because they are enjoying inside, like the drug lords in the Bilibid. They enjoy while they are inside.
Okay. So they don't find it to be hell on earth pala. Okay, Mr. President. Maybe they're under the influence of drugs, Mr. President. Maybe they're still under the influence of drugs. That's why they don't feel the hell on earth being held in jails and prisons here in the Philippines, Mr. President.
Maybe, Mr. President, and others become even more richer while they are incarcerated. While they are serving their sentence, they are even getting richer because
Sige.
the drug trade is continuing.
So that's Bucor and BJMP issues. Anyway, nakalusot na po sila sa process natin. Approve na yung budget sila. So let me just siguro appeal to the Director General. Sir, there have been past scandals involving PDEA, putting the agency in a bad light. Huwag na natin ulitin siguro para na alam na siguro ng taong bayan yun. So siguro, sir, I do not know how you can instill better discipline among your men. No? Kasi
Their internal cleansing program, Your Honor, is still ongoing.
pero
They will not stop.
yung nabasa ba namin, totoo ba yun? Like for example, ayoko na sana i-remind, pero I just need to confirm na yung PDEA personnel or chief trading involved in drug trade, illegal drugs trading in Taguig. Tama ba yun? Ang nabasa namin. Totoo yun?
Yes, Your Honor, it was confirmed that talaga nangyari yun.
Your CIF can be used for counterintelligence, and counterintelligence means monitoring your own men, di ba?
Yes.
Why did we fail in that instance, Mr. President?
Counterintelligence, gamitin po ito. Yes, according to the PDEA chief, Your Honor, the case that you mentioned a while ago was his first accomplishment upon assumption of office.
Ale, Okay, sige.
Yes, Your Honor, through counterintelligence efforts of PDEA and in coordination with the Philippine National Police.
Okay, so you put it to good use in that case, Mr. President. Kasi, ayun, ano yung about sister's wife, ano yung kasabihan? Dapat si Pidea, ganun. I mean, I don't know, I need assistance from Senator Tolentino. Ano yun? You should be above suspicion, like sister's wife, ganun ba yung ano? So Pidea should be, you should be above suspicion that your own people are trading in or involved in illegal drugs. Malinis dapat kayo kasi otherwise hopeless talaga ang drug situation, Mr. President. So I hope that you have more achievements to come. You're a 21-year-old agency. Sana by the time you're 25 years old, 30 years old, I mean, minor problem na siya, as minor as nag-iisip ako anong crime in the RPC which is already
Snatching?
a minor problem, Mr.
Snatching,
President.
Your Honor.
We need PNP data, mga ganun. So, I hope ganun po ang nangyayari. So, even without the need of the reimposition of death penalty, kasi divisive issue yun, magtatagal po talaga. If that is the solution, therefore parang we're admitting there is no solution. Kasi, that will be debated to death, actually.
Yes.
That is the penalty for the proposal for the reimposition of death penalty.
Is
It is
debate
the
to
death
death.
penalty itself. We will debate it to death, Mr. President. So, sana po, sa next time, hindi po yun ang sagot kasi otherwise parang walang sagot. So, when I ask for ano pa pwede natin gawin, sana hindi po yun ang sagot, Mr. President.
Yes, we just hope and pray with the current leadership of PDEA, Your Honor, I can assure you, I know General Morolaso, how strict he is and he was and he will be.
When did the General become the PDEA chief? When?
During the assumption of this current
July 1?
administration, July 1,
20?
November 2019, Your Honor. At 2022.
Okay, November 2022, isang taon pa lang. Isang taon.
pa lang.
Sige, we wish you all the best, Director General. Sabi nating sponsor, you are a reformer, so you are a strict person, straight. Sige, we wish you all the best. Suporta kami kung ganyan po kayo.
Nung
Hindi ko kayo
kaniti-
kilala, pero I'm sure kilala ka na yung sponsor. So,
Nung kaniti pa kami, Your Honor, pag makita ko si General Lasso, ay talagang nagkikinto na kami sa hallway. Kung makasibat pa kami, sibat. Pero kung hindi makasibat, talagang nagkikinto na kami.
upperclassman,
Upper class ko po siya. And hindi ka talaga makalusot sa kanya pag mahinang klase ka.
Sige po, we wish you all the best. Pero, pasensya na, General, because we will have to really strictly monitor the activities of your agency. And we will be sensitive to complaints, reports that we read, feedback from the ground. Abuses ang ating pagbawalan, abuses, and then just be more disciplined in the conduct of your activities and the performance of your mandate. So, we wish you all the best and thank you, Mr. Sponsor. Salamat po.
Thank you, Minority Leader. Maraming salamat po.
Very much, Minority Leader. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, again, there being no other reservation for interpellation, I move that we close the period of interpellation and consider the budget of PDEA to be deemed submitted for the body's consideration.
There being no objection to the motion, Majority Leader, the budget of the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency is hereby deemed submitted. Congratulations.
1 minute suspension.
Just on a side note, baby ko din yan because I was a member of Congress. I was the principal author of the Dangerous Drugs Law together with Senator Barbers. Kasama ko noon si Congressman Cuenco and myself. We were the principal authors. So, offshoot yun, we created the PDEA. So, congratulations for how many years?
21 years.
21 years old na pala sila. 21 years old.
Does that mean, Mr. President, that you've been the legislature for that very long time already?
Yes. 25 na po ako, sir. 25.
25?
Yes, sir.
25, sorry. 25?
25 years na po. When I end my term, 30 years. Kaya pahinga na.
30 years.
Time to fade away like a good soldier, like Sergeant General Angkan here, who's he's only young, very young. So there, without further ado, congratulations. Session suspended for 1 minute.
Let me move to recognize our distinguished colleague from the great city of Las Piñas, the chairperson of the Senate Committee on Agriculture, Senator Cynthia Villar, and to interpellate our minority leader, Senator Coco Pimentel. I so move, Mr. President.
Yes, I'd like to acknowledge as well, just to echo the acknowledgement of the Majority Floor Leader. Secretary, we'd like to welcome Secretary Conrad Estrella to the Senate, to your Senate. Marami kang barkada dito at kasama natin sa Kongreso. At just for the information of everyone, siya po yung apo ng dating Secretary of Agrarian Reform na si Secretary Estrella. Apo, di ba? Apo. And now we'd like to recognize and all the members of the Dar family. Welcome to your Senate. We'd like to recognize now Senator Cynthia Villar, and of course to interpolate the distinguished minority floor leader, Senator Quilino Coco Pimentel III.
Good evening, Mr. President, fellow senators. Before I begin, I would like to extend my warmest welcome to the Secretary of the Department of Agrarian Reform and to the entire DAR family. Okay. The Department of Agrarian Reform is envisioned as the lead government agency to implement a comprehensive and genuine agrarian reform that actualizes equitable land distribution, ownership, agricultural productivity, and tenurial security with the tillers of the land towards the improvement of their quality of life. The proposed budget of DAR for fiscal year 2024 is 9.393 billion, which is lower than the current year's level of 11.3 billion. By sources of appropriations, DAR's budget for 2024 is composed of 8.895 billion in new appropriations and 498 million in automatic appropriations. So we're now open to your questions about the Department of Agrarian Reform. We recognize now, Mr. President, our minority floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Madam Sponsor. We welcome the Secretary and his family. Secretary Estrella, welcome. Welcome to the Senate. And for establishing a new record, Mr. President, that the picture was taken before the approval of the budget, Mr. President. First time for that to ever happen in the Senate, Mr. President.
Unfortunately, he was with the PDEA group and not the DAR group.
Parang alam na niya kung anong mangyayari. After a few minutes, alam na niya anong resulta nito ang ating interpellation. But then, Mr. President, let me congratulate the DAR, led by the Secretary, for your stellar and significant achievements for the past year that you have been in service. The most memorable of which or significant is the implementation of that law sponsored or championed here in the Senate by our sponsor for the condonation of the principal loan payments, interest, and other surcharges and penalties of agrarian reform beneficiaries. So maybe get first, Madam Sponsor, the status of the implementation of this new landmark law, Mr. President.
Meron na ba? Meron ba? But wala pang amount na Mr. President, there is no amount of condonation yet. I guess they just finished the IRR, and I think they have to do this split program. So we can, yung mga collective CLOA natin na entitled to be condoned will be given their own individual titles. And then that's the time we condone the loan of the land reform beneficiaries.
Okay, so we now go to the split project. I think this is the main program, most important program of the DAR currently, or one of the most important programs of the DAR. So one question na lang po ako on the split, a compound question ko na po. From the name itself, it involves some kind of splitting. Can the split program be explained to us? What is the objective of the program? When can that objective be achieved? How much is the total cost for the program? How much of that cost will be GAA funded for how many years, and how much would be foreign loan proceeds, and what would be the interest payments, Mr. President? So in short, a description of the split program, the objectives of the split program, and the budgetary implications of the split program.
The split program is the splitting of the collective CLOAs given to land reform beneficiaries. They did not give it as individual CLOA, but collective CLOA. So there are many beneficiaries in one CLOA, so they're splitting it so that we will know who will own what. And it is a project financed by both the government of the Philippines and the World Bank. The World Bank gave something like more than 19 billion to finance the project, and the contribution of the local or our GAA is around 5 billion. So it's the cost would be something like 24 billion. And today they said that they have accomplished 9 billion of the 24 billion. So we have still 15 billion to to accomplish. It was delayed because of the COVID pandemic. So it started before the COVID, but it was temporarily stopped during the COVID pandemic. So they're resuming it now. And today, as of September 30, 2023, they accomplished in the amount of 722 million, which is 12%. And then by October 23, they added 1.188 million, 1,188 million, which is 19%. And so that's a total of 1.911 billion. And for November, they hope to accomplish 1.2 billion, which is 19%. And for December, 2.9 billion, which is 47%, for a total of 6 billion, more or less, by the end of December. So that would bring the total to how much? 98%, but the total 9 billion. Yeah. And so on the average, they spend 6 billion a year. So if there are still 15 billion to accomplish, that's around 3 years at most. So the split program will take another 3 years to do. And they promise that they can finish it within 3 years.
Okay, so those are the broad strokes or the broad concepts in the split program. But did I understand the answer earlier by the sponsor that even the condonation program is dependent on the implementation of the split program?
Yes,
Okay.
because many of the land reform beneficiaries are from the split program.
So hindi pa nila nararamdaman yung financial relief of the condonation
Maybe next
program?
year they can start because they just finished the IRR and they will start condoning next year.
Ay,
Ilan?
basta may
But they said during Christmas,
May makakaramdam
some
na.
beneficiaries will
Okay.
feel it na.
makakaramdam ng epekto ng ating condonation law, pero after the split program, talagang lahat dapat maramdaman na ang epekto ng ating condonation law. So, since that is the case, Mr. President, alam na siguro ito ng DAR, hindi na kailangan ng advice, but siguro lang in my role as the minority leader, I extend the unsolicited advice na focus na tayo dyan sa split program na yan. All our energies, if possible, ibuhos na po natin dyan sa split program. Ano pala yan sunod-sunod pala lahat ng benepisyo na mararamdaman once we are able to accomplish the objectives of the split program.
And I think there was an executive order, Mr. President, that there is a EO40 that they don't have to pay their loans for 2 years.
Pero suspension na yan.
Yeah,
Suspension.
so I guess it will come together
Yes.
that when they have to pay, the condonation has been implemented.
So the suspension, so naramdaman nila yung relief ngayon, relief from a financial burden because of an EO. So kay Presidente yun. Okay. Pagdating ng panahon, ang patuloy yung relief nila because the law. Sa atin naman po.
Yeah,
Is that how I understood it? Okay.
Yeah, that's.
Sige po, Mr. President. I think that's all we need to know kasi that split program is really the main program of the important program of the DAR, and then sunod-sunod na po yung benepisyong mararamdaman ng ating mga agrarian reform beneficiaries. I'm sure marami pang iba, but the Secretary is on top of them, being the grandson of the first agrarian reform secretary. Diyan siya lumaki, expert na po siya rito. So congratulations. And then, so tama pala yung new practice established by the Secretary. Picture muna bago approval. So, once again, congratulations to the DAR family. Full support. Just tell us what you need. And then, thank you to our sponsor for her patience, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President and Minority Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Madam Sponsor. Welcome to the new Secretary. In his first defense of the department's budget. Siguro this will be more like a symbolic defense because he had no hand in the crafting of this budget, Mr. President. But it's great to see you here, Mr. Secretary. Welcome to public service, government service, Mr. President. Siguro, Mr. President, since we have a new secretary and let's take advantage of his presence, if we can start by hearing his siguro vision, overall plans for the department. Kahit very short lang po, give us the top 3 points that the secretary wants to achieve in his, let's assume he has a 4.5-year term, Mr. President.
Before we start the hearing, I just want to make a move that we defer the budget of PhilMec and the budget of PCA because their heads are not present today. So we would like them to be present when we hear
Sana
the budget.
PCA? Sana
So I so move, Mr. President.
We join, Mr. President, the motion of our esteemed colleague, the sponsor of the budget of the Department of Agriculture.
Yeah, there being no objection to the motion is approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now,
Yes, just,
you want the secretary to...
yes, if the secretary can briefly,
Yeah.
briefly tell us.
We will have to,
yes,
suspend,
we suspend
our
the
rules.
yes.
Will there be a motion from the majority floor
Majority
leader?
Leader, we want a suspension of the rules because the sponsor wants the secretary himself to address the plenary, Mr. President.
Therefore, Mr. President, I move that we suspend the rules and allow our resource person, the newly appointed secretary of the department, and its attached agencies to answer queries from our minority leader. I so move, Mr.
There
President.
being no objection, motion is approved.
Thank you.
Take it away, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't know how to actually, I don't know how to address the body since it's my, yes, Mr. Senate President. Well, the plans, our plans for the Department of Agriculture is basically the marching orders of our President now, which is to increase production through use of rice and other products, through the use of technology, modernization, and improve logistics to lower cost of all the products that we produce in this country. By increasing production, we will hopefully lessen importation through mechanization and modernization. We hope to achieve better yields or recoveries so that we have less waste. In order to do this, we have to properly deliver the seeds on time. We have to properly irrigate and expand our irrigation. We have to also deliver the fertilizers at the right time. Then after that, once after harvest, we have to be able to process all of our produce and maximize the yields, and then of course bring this to the market with the least possible, direct to farm to market or least possible, possible, not only cost but lessen the process and lessen the amount of people changing hands. The product changing hands a couple of times. Try to reduce the middleman. Yes.
Okay, so thank you. You gave me more than what I asked for. Sabi ko top 3, so you gave us around 10 plans of the secretary. So
Thank you.
we can, Mr. President, we
Thank
can
you.
now go back to our regular procedure, Mr. President.
Mr. President, I move that we lift the suspension of our rules. So move, Mr. President.
There being no objection, motion is approved.
Thank you, Mr.
We'd like
President.
to recognize once again the sponsor.
Thank you. So nakita natin yung galing, abilidad ng ating bagong secretary po of the Department of Agriculture. So we need to give him time to prove himself and to implement his vision for the department. Ito yung department which needs, which I think deserves naman to be given a second chance, Mr. President, or even multiple chances. You are suffering from some bad reputation nowadays. Merong nga dito sa Senado, present here today in our session hall, who was called the Department of Agriculture the Department of Importation. Yan na po ang nangyayari. Yan, basta that person who labeled the department that way is present here tonight, Mr. President. Yeah, here. So, Mr. President, when the Secretary addressed the problem of importation, sinabi po niya, hopefully, lessen importation. Are we in such a bad situation that when it comes to importation, we are very cautious for hopefully lessen importation?
Mr.
Yes.
President, Minority Floor Leader, because it has been our experience in the past that we ask the PSA for the demand and the supply, the demand of a certain product and the supply available locally. And what they import is much, much more than the shortage. That's why we have that problem. So I hope we will not be doing that in the future.
Under the new leadership, Mr. President. Okay. So I have the Secretary addresses that, no? Alam mo, pinapabalik po namin yung PSA sa Friday, right? The PSA. The main reason was because of this passport fiasco. Pero when I supported the motion to recall the PSA, I stated because of their agricultural statistics. I mean, it was with a heavy heart that I went along with the approval of their budget. But I really question the reported statistics or figures and data by the PSA on agriculture. So may we know how we will address this kung garbage in, garbage out. As I pointed out to the PSA director dito, we are determining the amount of importation that we should allow, and yet in computing that, in the early steps, inputted na si ka-importation. So it's a self-reinforcing formula being observed by both DA and the PSA. So may we know from the Secretary through the sponsor how he hopes to address our data gathering, our agricultural statistics, because kung hindi natin to improve, garbage in, garbage out, ang epekto, pahirap sa taong bayan, Mr. President.
Before, the DA has a Bureau of Agricultural Statistics. Now, they abolished that and they transferred the determination of statistics to PSA. And there's something wrong with the statistics. So maybe in the future, maybe the Department of Agriculture can create their own, so the figures will be better, di ba? In one of their agency in the department, maybe they can create their own statistics so that we will not rely on PSA.
Pero one thing strange, Mr. President, is, kunyari for onions, ito hindi ko ma-reconcile pa po sa mind ko. If we are importing more than the actual need of the market, then why did the price rise?
That's why,
To astronomical levels, Mr. President.
Mr. President, that's why we're passing the anti-agricultural economic sabotage law, because there is also that practice of cartel. They control the supply and then they create what you call as artificial demand. That's why they are able to sell the price, the object at a high price. Like for example, onion. The cost of producing onion is 25 pesos per kilo. And then the ones who produce the onion in Mindoro told me in the hearing that they bought the onions from them from 8 pesos to 15 pesos per kilo, this middleman, because they were forced to sell the onion because they have no storage facility. Mabubulok lang yung onion, kaya napuwersa silang to sell the onions at a loss. And then this middleman, this cartel, they sold it for 600 to 700 per kilo. So that's really abuse of the cartel. That's why we're passing the agricultural economic sabotage law, which will penalize these people taking advantage of consumer by ang penalty is life sentence.
Yes,
Life sentence, and if there is available. So even if they can fix the court, they will stay in the prison while their case is being heard by a special court. We're creating a special court for anti-agricultural economics, agriculture sabotage law. The Supreme Court has given their approval that we create a special court for this kind of crime. So we're making it harder for them to be able to smuggle and to control or to profit or to hoard and to control the supply of agricultural products.
Thank you. We will work hard on the bill, Mr. President. Joint effort na po yan ng majority and minority. We'll make sure as much as possible to make it as airtight as possible while complying with the Constitution, with the rights even of the accused, Mr. President. Our sponsor mentioned in the course of discussing that phenomenon we encountered where onion prices rose to astronomical levels, the lack of storage facility. Okay. Are we addressing that issue in the budget of the DA for 2024?
We are.
Yes,
We
po.
are building 9, costing 374 million. But in addition, in the agriculture economic sabotage law, we are penalizing, kasi usually we give the warehouse to co-op of farmers. But we discovered during the rice shortage, onion shortage in 2018. Yeah, I went to Nueva Ecija because they are also the biggest producer of onion. And then I saw this storage owned by the co-op of onion farmers. It's empty and they have listed to a middleman. So in the agricultural economic sabotage law, we are penalizing also the co-op, which we gave what you call this storage warehouse or storage facility, that they are liable also, and the penalty is life sentence also and non-bailable.
So in
because
the-
the government gave them warehouse and they are not allowing the farmers to use the warehouse. Instead, they are leasing it to the middleman.
It's the easy way of earning money. So
Yes.
it was madali. Pero just to trace the history of that cold storage facility, ba?
Yes.
Warehouse, cold storage facility.
Cold storage facility.
That was built by
The
government
government,
funds. Okay.
government
Was
given to the co-op.
given in the sense that it was donated to the co-op and it's now a property of the co-op?
Yes.
So that's the program of the DA?
Yes, yes. If you give it to the co-op, then the co-op will run it.
Is it a use of right or really a donation?
Donation.
Donation. Okay, so we have such. How long have we had such a program, Mr.
It has been that way.
And how much have we spent for that? Totality, kunyari.
Ito
Up to
9
today,
is
anong estimate?
300.
Estimate lang, no need to be that accurate.
9 is 370 million, so 40 million each.
And yes, how many of these cold storage facilities have we built over the years and given
idea.
to co-ops? Pinibigay pala sa co-ops.
Hindi, yung dati. Yung number. Kasi ito, 2018 to 2023. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 16. Since
16.
16 since 2018.
16 since 2018. Okay, so madaling i-monitor po 16. 16 lang, 16 po yan.
Pero that was 2018. Hindi pa natin in-account yung before 2018.
Opo. Sige.
So maybe we
so-
should ask DA to account for all
Yes.
the storage facilities that they have given to the co-ops. So we
Secretary-
will have an idea.
Secretary, an example of, the asking for data and the DA should have this data on their fingertips, Mr. Secretary. Okay, so yung reason of lack of storage facility, ang sagot natin, we build 9 for next year. Saan po ito located? Andun na po, the budget law already determines the location of the 9. Wala nang discretion to change the location of the 9.
2023, Occidental, dalawa sa Occidental Mindoro, dalawa sa Nueva Ecija, sa Bataan, Nueva Vizcaya, and Pangasinan.
Apo.
Nueva Vizcaya, Pangasinan. Okay?
So the areas or the places have been predetermined and they cannot be changed. Yan na. It's the law.
Under construction eh.
So the amount is parang a second phase funding to finish the project?
No, hindi pa to yung 2024. Ito yung 2023. And 2024 is 1 in Pangasinan, 1 in Nueva Vizcaya, 1 in Isabela, 2 in Nueva Ecija, 1 in Pampanga, 1 in Tarlac, 1 in Oriental Mindoro, and 1 in Occidental Mindoro. All in Luzon.
Okay, so thank you. Cold storage facilities po yan because sa hearings natin isang reason po yan. Sa hearings po natin, Mr. President, naalala ko rin yung onion farmers of Mindoro. Sabi nila, at a certain price per kilo, if the produce is sold here in Manila at that certain price, happy na sila. So
Yes,
parang may sinabi silang ganung amount.
100 pesos.
Correct, 100 pesos. And then, so in effect, all in na po yun. So production cost plus transportation cost. So ito pong...
Kasi nga 25 pesos per kilo ang cost eh.
So the transportation cost or logistics cost must not go beyond 75 pesos. Yun ba yun? And then they will be happy with the price. So siguro, in the future budget of the Secretary, where he has now a direct hand participation in crafting the budget, maglagay po kayo ng isang program, activity or project to address this post-production stage but before market stage, Mr. Secretary. I hope I'm using the right terms, but you know what I mean, Mr. Secretary.
Pag binili mo yung onion sa farm, it's 50 pesos, 49 pesos per kilo. And the retail price in Metro Manila, recently, November 14, local red onion is 120 to 200 per kilo. Local white onion is 100 to 170 per kilo. Imported white onion, 80 to 180 pesos per kilo. So wide ang range, but you can see that we can really sell it at 100.
Yes, pero ang pagkaintindi ko sa farmer, sila pa rin dapat yung nagbibenta at that price. Kung trader na yon na hindi pa rin po sila happy dun sa presyo. Sige, so we have shown na bumaba na po, onions lang po itong natin, but theoretically applicable siguro to other commodities. We have shown that the prices of the different kinds of onions are now at the more normal levels. Can we explain what happened that brought them down to more normal levels? Anong nangyari?
Alam mo, yung talagang 600 to 700, cartel yun. It's not really the price. We allowed the cartel to do it. That's why we are passing this economic sabotage law kasi abuse na yun eh. That's abuse.
Whose job was it, Mr. President, to blunt or negate the cartel's activities and plans, Mr. President? In effect, labanan sila at hanapin sila at kasuhan sila. Is that DA's mandate?
This is the first time we're going to pass a law against cartel. It's the job sana ng Philippine Competition Commission, but they have they did not give enough time for that. So that's why we're passing the economic sabotage law. That's why I'm telling you, Mr. Minority Floor Leader, that we have to pass it.
Yes,
kasi we are really being abused.
We will pass it. I already stated my support, Mr. President. Mayroon lang tayong, we're just making sure that, it will not be struck down as unconstitutional. Pero, Mr. President, I think that is not the case because parang binibigyan natin ng free pass ang DA. My staff informs me that under the Price Act, punishable na po yung cartel behavior, and it is the responsibility of the DA. Can the experts in the DA tell us what's the state of the law as of this moment, even without the bill mentioned by our sponsor? Sige. Yes, for agricultural products, it should be the DA. Pero cartel lang.
Smuggling yung mga na-file. They have filed cases against agricultural smuggling, but I have to see record of them filing cases against cartel.
Ang tanong, bakit hindi nagamit yung existing law doon sa kaso ng onion na umabot sa 800? Yan ang tanong. Can the old-timers in the DA give us an explanation?
Mga pulis yun ang pero wala po tayo. So, I think we have failed in that. So, we're trying to smuggling lang ang mga na-file nilang cases but never against the Price Act.
Okay, sige. Sige po. Thank you for the admission, but all of these are behind us now. We have a new leader in the department
Hindi
who
naman daw si Lea.
looks to me to be a reformer. Dala niya po ang disiplina ng private sector. Dala niya ang experience, discipline, and of course the demand for efficiency. And,
They have given
discipline.
me, Minority Floor Leader, they gave me, they're trying to file a case against Lea Cruz. Oo. Who has 6 companies operating. Onion ba to si Lea Cruz? Oo. But what is that status? They are investigating daw together with the Philippine Competition Commission against Lea Cruz. But this Lea Cruz has been there for a long time. I have been the chairman of agriculture since 2013, and when I entered, there is already a Lea Cruz. So I guess it's taking them a long time.
And I noticed the words used by our sponsor. They are trying to file a case. Ang layo-layo pa po nung trying, Mr. President. So, at any rate, we wish the Anti-Smuggling Task Force or Office of the DA all the best. And I think we funded you for 2023. For 2023. I made an
Yeah,
amendment to also give funding to the anti-smuggling efforts of the DA.
They said that they issued a warrant of arrest to
The court, siguro. The court.
Yeah. To Jason De Rojas Taculog. And they have arrested him this morning. Oo. So that's good news. Oo.
Smuggling? For smuggling?
Smuggling.
Okay. Is he a large-scale smuggler?
Large-scale smuggling.
Okay.
And
In
they-
what commodities?
Onions daw.
Onions also.
30 containers daw of onions. And they have filed in court 15 cases, but 5 dismissed cases. It's ano talaga. It's you can see that everything is dismissed by the court. That's why I want them to be non-bailable para at least kung i-dismiss man ng court, nakaranas na siya makulong. Eh alam mo, mayayaman sila, ayaw nilang makulong. Kaya yun ang provision ng ating anti-economic sabotage law. At least, if you are rich and you will go to prison, you will not do it anymore because you don't have to do it. Kaya pini-explain ko kay Minority Floor Leader para alam niya yung story ng ating anti-agricultural economic sabotage law.
Opo, we have studied the bill in detail and we will really work on it. Okay, the next question is there any other commodity which would be as susceptible as onion to price manipulation, smuggling, etc.?
Rice.
Rice, what else? Almost
Sugar.
Almost all.
Garlic,
All? No? Okay, sige, can you mention at least 3 other commodities para kasi ang next tanong ko, anong na lessons
Meron din
na
frozen meat, ha?
frozen meat?
Oh, kasi yung opal, yung hindi magandang meat, ang ano niyan, ang tariff niyan is 5%. Yung magandang meat is 35%. So the people from abroad who are sending the meat here were saying na lahat daw ng pinadala nila kahit good meat, dinideclare dito as offal. Oh, yun ang practice nila. Kaya marami din yan.
Okay, I don't think we need a new law for that. No? Kung ganyan kasi we are given a state of facts. No? Good meat declared as offal, that should be, is that outright smuggling or technical smuggling?
Technical smuggling.
Technical smuggling.
Dapat pala ilagay
Okay,
natin yun.
sino po ang expected na ahensya na makahuli ng technical smuggling?
Customs. Bureau of
Customs.
Customs.
Opo, customs. Opo. Tama-tama, sa Friday naman ang budget ng customs. Pwede natin sila i-confront po dito sa pangyayaring ito. So, Mr. President, we heard about the establishment of the first border facility
Yes.
somewhere in Bulacan.
Yes.
and I think it has the groundbreaking ceremony has been held for this. Can we get an update on the status of this project as well as its budgetary implication, Mr. President?
We are, since 2019, we were giving the Department of Agriculture budget to establish first border facilities, because in the first border facilities, we have a laboratory.
Okay.
So if you will try to bring in agricultural products which have diseases, then we will know because there is a laboratory. But unfortunately, we have failed to establish a first border facility. In 2019, we gave a budget, but they did not. And then this 2023, we have a budget again for first border facility, 2.5 billion to establish first border facility, one in Bulacan for Luzon, one in Cebu for Visayas, and one in Davao City for Mindanao. But up to now, if you will receive the disbursement of that first border facility, it's zero. So we are not enthusiastic about the first border facility. So I am telling the Secretary to make sure that we are able to build these 3 border facilities, because it will discourage smuggling and at the same time prevent the entry of diseases to our burden ngayon ng livestock would be ASF, and then yung poultry is avian flu, di ba? I think we have lost 200 billion pesos yung ating livestock industry because of ASF. And I hope that they will be more enthusiastic in building these first border facilities for the benefit of our farmers and fisher folks. Okay, thank you.
No, but I've read the news report about one such first border facility.
Yeah, in Bulacan.
Kumusta na po yun?
Zero pa nga ang disbursement eh. We inaugurated, we ground break, but if you would see the report of DA, construction of cold examination facility in agriculture, CEFA, 0. Obligation rate 0, disbursement rate 0. So I guess we have to improve this in the near future.
Ako po, this will be parang a facility with laboratory equipment and so. Okay,
And parking lot.
Parking lot. So I understand yung we prevent the introduction of diseases through our food imports or import of commodities.
Yeah, yes.
But why will this prevent smuggling?
Because we're more strict, di ba? And at the same time, the first border facility is the first inspection ng imported goods. So if we have a first border facility that is strict, then we will prevent smuggling. Today kasi wala eh. Wala.
Yeah, my worry is parang itong ating first border facility is a couple of kilometers away from the ports of entry. So
We have no choice.
isn't the distance also critical na baka all the more may magkaroon ng diversion of goods, Mr. President?
Nilalagyan ng tracking system yung mga truck na nanggaling sa pier.
And
May tracking system
who will make that as a requirement? What agency will impose
DA.
that requirement? DA.
DA. BAI.
BAI. Okay, so they're ready. They're ready to do it. I mean,
Yeah, of course.
we have the budget. We have the item in the 2024 budget.
They
for
have been
that.
doing that, but in a different process. So it's nothing new.
Nothing new. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. So, siguro, with the new secretary, wala daw, there's no, nag-groundbreaking na. Pero, nag-groundbreaking na, nandyan na yung funding, hindi gumagalaw. So, I think that's how I understand the answer to be, Mr. President. Well, Mr. President, let's talk about the committee report, Mr. President. Pagdating po sa Office of the Secretary, our committee report, the Senate's committee report, reduces the budget for the Office of the Secretary by 22 billion. Nanggaling siya sa 114 billion. Reduced ang aming Senate committee. Ang ending is 92.1 billion pesos. May we get an explanation from our sponsor? Why did we reduce and what did we reduce?
That's the 2020, the 2023 guys, the Office of the Secretary is 85
Billion.
billion. But in the 2024 NEP is 92 billion, so it did not
We increased,
decrease.
yes. So we touch. So what we reduced was the gap level. So that means marami pa palang issues to be threshed out at the BICAM as far as
Yes.
the budget of the DA is concerned.
Because the one passed by the lower house is bigger.
Yes.
So we have to settle that.
So on what issues did we disagree with the House? Kasi binabaan po natin yung House version by 22 billion. Malaking halaga po yun. That's why I just want to ask, ano po yung mga big shifts po in the budget? Starting from the House version, Isabel.
Yung National Irrigation Administration, from 41, ginawa nilang 81. Additional 40 billion.
Hindi, ma'am, we can limit ourselves to the Office of the Secretary muna.
Walang masyadong difference sa Office of the Secretary. Our NEP is 13.5. Sa kanila is 13.5 din. Hindi masyado. Ang malaki yung sa National Irrigation. And Philippine Fisheries Development Authority, ito yung ports. And then Philippine Coconut Authority. O, tapos doon, attached corporations ang ano. Dito sa ano, hindi masyado. Proceeds of the, usually the way they do it here in the Senate. Oh, but it's still there, except that it's transferred to another account. And the 20 billion was given by the House to AMAS, the Agribusiness and Marketing Services, 20 billion, but they did not explain how it will be spent. Kaya tinanggal ng Senado yon. Oh. So that's a total of 22 billion.
Thank you for being vigilant and strict with our budget. We thank our sponsors. Siya yung responsible niyan. Well, Mr. President, malalaking budgets kasi ng ibang attached agencies, but I participated in the committee hearing for NIA naman. So just,
We are not against the budget. We just want it explained,
Correct, I know.
how it will be used.
yes. And we also look at the track record, the past usage of past budgets, Mr.
Yes.
President. Sige, ang importante malaman nila dito sa Senado nabubusisi din po sila, Mr. President. So can we just siguro explain the big amounts in the DA's budget for next year? For example, sa NEP amounts po to, no? Kasi hindi ko pa na-analyze yung ating committee report amounts. 33 billion is set aside for the production support services for various commodities.
Where is that?
What is this for? What is this program all about, Mr. President? And then after spending 33 billion pesos next year, ano po ang mararamdaman ng taong bayan na benepisyo dito?
Hindi ko makita yun. Nasaan yung 33?
Pero NEP ito, so ano ba yung committee?
Sa Office of the President.
Ha? Office of the President?
Office of the Secretary.
Secretary, apa. Wala pa itong po. Voucher kasi.
Kasi ang mga major programs sa Office of the Secretary are the National Rice Program, the National Corn Program, the National Livestock Program, the National High Value Crop Program, the National Organic Agriculture Program, the National Urban and Peri-Urban Program. So doon dadalhin yung mga programa, yung mga pera na ibinibigay dito. So
Opo, sige, para na malaman ng ating mga kababayan,
this program is focused on improving productivity and sustainability. Yung katulad ng sinabi ni Secretary, promotion of modern, high-yielding and climate-resilient seeds and planting materials, fingerlings, fry, broodstock, and animals distributed to farmers, fisherfolks, and other beneficiaries engaged in agriculture and fishery. Yun yung ano. Ito ba kasali dito?
dito yung notes ko, hindi ko makita yung...
Alin ka?
Just for the information of the public, Mr. President, we have more than 9 billion pesos for seed vouchers distribution. So parang seed distribution project ito, Mr. President.
And for fertilizer
Yes,
voucher.
fertilizer, yes.
And for
For fertilizer, more than 9 billion pesos. Okay.
yes.
So siguro ang next step natin na sagutin or siguro mag-information dissemination na lang kayo, how to avail. How to avail, unless predetermined na ang recipients nito.
No, we
Are-
have RSBSA. It's
Okay.
the registry of basic sector in agriculture. But we are trying to solve this problem because it's very hard to make this list. There are many complaints, so I think they are studying how to make this successful, this RSBSA. And I think the World Bank is going to help us by an aid to improve this RSBSA.
We are, according to my notes, we are appropriating 202.9 million to update the registry system for basic
Yes,
sectors
yes.
in agriculture. Is that the World Bank loan proceeds or GAA?
The World Bank will give additional technical support so that we can improve this. Because if you
When
don't...
was this last updated? Anong year?
No, we are updating it every day. Every day. The problem is, the one implementing this are the, ano ba yun? Yung nasa local government na municipal agriculture office na controlled by the local government. Sometimes, bias ginagamit ng local government to give benefit not to the farmers but to their political allies. So nagkakaproblema yung ating registry system for basic sector in agriculture. That's why World Bank would like to try to help us. Kasi pag mali yung list mo, hindi napupunta sa tunay na beneficiary yung ibibigay natin.
We're back to the garbage in, garbage out.
Yes, yes. So we are trying to improve this, and I guess our new secretary will be one of your projects that we have a better RSBSA.
That registry is the responsibility of the department.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Except that siyempre nangungonsulta sila sa lokal, and then sinasabi ninyo yung may pabor.
Yeah. I am suggesting that we transfer it back to the Department of Agriculture, yung ating kahit provincial agriculture worker para hindi bias.
Hindi, as of the moment nga, ang sagot nyo sa akin kanina, it's the responsibility of the DA. Now,
Yeah, but ang gumagawa is local, yung municipal agricultural agriculture office,
But-
which is not DA. Oo.
yes, but the current system, how it is done, has the blessings of the DA. So we
Yeah.
have new